Chapter 271. Who knew how many bright reverend school disciples had said such words to intimidate, but this time in front of this red-clothed man, it was clearly ineffective. A hint of rumination flashed past his eyes. He reached out a hand and patted that great wisdom barrier that was about to shatter. Hearing you all say this, Wu, I'm actually a bit looking forward to your master's revenge. Originally, I even wanted to scatter your souls together so as to prevent you all from being an eyesore like flies. But now it seems that no matter what, I have to leave one of your souls alive, or else no one will be able to report to your master. Oh, which one should I leave alive? His expression was like he was picking a chicken in a chicken coop. Zhong Rushuang and the other two's faces could no longer be described as deathly white, they were completely devoid of color. It turned out that there were people in this world who weren't afraid of their master. My father is Li Gang, had run into, and he didn't buy it at all. The red-clothed man treated them the same way he treated Ning Xuema and the little Qilin. He also gave the three of them a choice. Out of the three of them, only one of their souls could be left behind. However, they could decide who to leave behind. In other words, he supported the three's internal strife, and the one who won and survived would be the lucky one. His multiple-choice question made the three brothers and sisters who had originally shared life and death, and worked together to fight against the outside world, instantly become enemies who wanted each other dead. Each of them used their own unique skills. The third brother was the first to be killed by the eldest brother, and his body was kicked out of the Great Wisdom Barrier. This Great Wisdom Barrier was indeed a strange treasure. It was easy to leave but difficult to enter. As soon as the third brother's body was kicked out, it immediately melted in the faint golden light, not even leaving behind a bone. Eldest brother. Zhong Rushuang's expression was mournful, and her eyes were filled with tears. I know you've always liked me and you loved me the most among all the brothers and sisters. You once played the flute under my window for an entire night, and you said you would go through water and tread on fire for me without hesitation. The eldest brother seemed to be moved, and the hand holding the sword slowly lowered. Yes, I've always liked you, but you refused to respond to me. Eldest senior brother, it's not that I don't want to respond to you. It's just that my telekinesis has yet to break through to the earth rank. I'm ashamed and afraid that I'm not good enough for you. Actually, I've always liked eldest senior brother. Zhong Rushuang stared at the tip of his sword, and her voice became even more sorrowful. Do you have any proof? Eldest senior brother seemed to be in disbelief. Evidence? Zhong Rushuang smiled bitterly. Do you need evidence to like someone? You're saying this at a time like this because you want me to give you the chance to live. Sister Shuang, do you really think I'm stupid? Eldest senior brother, you're wrong. In order to prove my feelings, I've decided to give you this one and only chance. Eldest senior brother, you take care. The tears in Zhong Rushuang's eyes finally rolled down. A crying beauty was always pitiful, not to mention that she was his sweetheart. Eldest senior brother couldn't help but step forward. Little sister Shuang, Zhong Rushuang looked at him with tears in her eyes. Eldest senior brother, I just want you to know how I feel. I'm afraid that if I don't say it now, I won't have another chance. I understand. Little sister Shuang, I'm sorry. Don't say sorry, eldest senior brother. Your telekinesis has already broken through to the Earth rank level 6. Your survival is more useful than ours. Rushuang only has one request now. What request? Tell me. Chapter 272. Eldest brother, can you give me a hug? That way, even if I die, I can smile in the underworld. Okay. The eldest brother opened his arms, waiting for the final hug. Zhong Rushuang cried out and threw herself into his arms. Eldest brother. A pair of lovers tightly hugged each other in the moment of life and death. Then their bodies suddenly trembled. The tip of a sword protruded from their backs, close to their hearts. It turned out that they had taken advantage of this moment to plot against each other and deliver a fatal blow to each other. At the same time, the two people's bodies shook, and at the same time, they reached out with their palms, desperately slapping each other away. The eldest brother's martial arts were clearly much higher than Zhong Rushuang's. His palm directly slapped Zhong Rushuang out of the Great Wisdom Barrier. Zhong Rushuang didn't even have time to cry out before her whole body disappeared in the faint golden light. Zhong Rushuang's sword was stuck in the eldest brother's chest. Because he had dodged at the most critical moment, Zhong Rushuang's sword didn't directly pierce his heart. He wouldn't die for a while. He staggered back a step and sat down with a thump. Slut. You lied to me. The red-clothed man stood not far away watching this good show of killing each other. A trace of disgust flashed through his eyes. In the face of life and death, love and friendship often couldn't withstand the test. They couldn't even withstand a single blow. Their souls have already been scattered, right? The eldest brother gasped for breath like an ox. Now he was the only one who survived. If his master knew that he had killed his junior brothers and sisters, he wouldn't let him off. However, this red-clothed demon said that the other two souls would be scattered. That way his master would never know the truth. He could also cry and complain to his master. Maybe he could reincarnate into a good body. Therefore, the souls of those two people must be scattered. The man in red crossed his arms and looked at him. He didn't answer his question. Suddenly he smiled and said, "You really are the most vicious and merciless person. No wonder you can live for so long." He changed the topic and said, "Actually, the three of you don't have to die. My martial arts haven't fully recovered. Sending out this golden light is already an arrow at the end of its flight. As long as you work together to support this tortoise shell for a quarter of an hour, I won't be able to do anything to you." As he spoke, the faint golden light surrounding the great wisdom barrier finally completely dissipated, and not a trace of it could be seen. Eldest senior brother? His hand that was holding the sword began to tremble. He wanted to stand up, but he was also heavily injured. At this moment he could only force himself not to faint. He couldn't do anything else. The great wisdom barrier was originally supported by his telekinesis. At this moment he was already at the end of his road. Naturally, the great wisdom barrier could no longer support him and shattered with a bang. Eldest senior brother lay there like a dead dog, gasping for breath. The red-clothed man's expression became even more joyful. "Are you regretting it? Can't wait to tear me to shreds?" Eldest senior brother could not answer a single word. What was the use of regretting now? There would be no turning back. He panted even harder, and blood began to seep out of the corner of his lips. The red-clothed man slowly walked forward and made a hand gesture to eldest senior brother. Eldest senior brother's body trembled. His arm did not listen to him, and the sword in his hand slowly moved towards his own neck. He wanted to struggle, but he didn't have the strength to do so. Seeing the gleaming sword edge getting closer and closer to his neck, all the hair on his body stood on end. He desperately shouted, You said you would let me go." Chapter 273. Ah yes. I did say that I would leave your soul behind to inform your master and let your master find me for revenge. The red-clothed man nodded, his voice was still elegant. He turned his head and looked at him. "Will you inform your master?" Did this red-clothed demon want him to inform his master or not? He said that he was already an arrow at the end of its flight. If that was the case, he should not be his master's opponent. The eldest senior brother was at a loss and hesitated for a moment. Is this not easy to answer? The red-clothed man was a little unhappy. If you let me go and spare my life, I swear that I will not report today's matter to my master." The eldest senior brother took the opportunity to make a request. Then wouldn't your junior brothers and sisters have died in vain? If your master asks, how are you going to answer? The red-clothed man's eyes were shining. I will say that they died under the claws of the magical beasts on the 9th peak. This is not a good lie. No matter how powerful the magical beasts on the 9th peak are, they will only kill them at most. They will not make their souls scatter. Think of a better one. The red-clothed man was not satisfied with this reason. The eldest senior brother had to think desperately. Finally he thought of a reliable one. I will say that they died in the hands of the Wind and Cloud Sect's sect leader. The Wind and Cloud Sect's sect leader had always been at odds with their bright reverence school. That sect leader also had the ability to make people's souls scatter. The red-clothed man laughed. "Very good. Say it like that." He pressed his hand down fiercely. The sword in the eldest senior brother's hand directly pierced his own neck. Blood spurted out wildly. His eyes suddenly widened and his body slowly fell down. The red-clothed man raised his hand and gently blew on it. He was afraid that today's matter would set off a reign of terror on the continent. In the future, it seemed that it would not be so boring. He lowered his eyes and looked at the zither in his arms. Suddenly, he faintly sighed and gently wiped it again. With Kirin, the king of beasts, by her side, Ning Shuema went down the mountain very smoothly. All the magical beasts that smelled Kirin's scent fled at the sight of her. Therefore she did not encounter any magical beasts on the way. She worked hard for half the night and finally reached the 3rd peak at dawn. The magical beasts on the 3rd peak were obviously much weaker. There were already gentle animals like the magical rabbit. There were many disciples from various sects who came here to train and level up. Ning Shuema had also encountered a few waves. She didn't want to have any contact with these people, but Kirin's figure was too eye-catching. No matter which group of people came into contact with him, they would scream, "Kirin! Heavens, that's a Qilin!" Then a large group of people chased after her. Little Qilin's speed was much faster than these people, leaving them far behind. However, the Qilin beast was an extremely rare divine beast. Since these people had seen it, how could they give it up so easily? They used all kinds of magic treasures to track him down, persevering like sticky candy. Moreover, they would also call their friends and inform their friends in the mountains to surround and intercept them. Moreover, there were quite a number of people who came to the third peak to train. She had just shaken off one group when she encountered another. In less than half an hour, she had already been chased by 5 groups of people. There was a long trail of people behind her like ants. Seeing that there were people who came to intercept her at every intersection, Ning Xuema knew that she could not run anymore. She had to face them. She patted Kirin's head and signaled for him to stop. Kirin had not been chased by people for more than 1,000 years. He was a little panicked. "Master, what are they doing? I already have a master. Why are they still chasing me?" Chapter 274. What? It was nothing more than curiosity and greed. The corner of Ning Xuema's lips lightly hooked up. "How did you deal with the embarrassing situation of being chased?" Kirin has been wandering outside for thousands of years, so he must have encountered many situations like this. The little Qilin paused for a moment. I summoned other magical beasts to block it for me?" Ning Xuema's eyes lit up. It turned out that Kirin had the ability to summon other magical beasts. "Little Apple, listen to my instructions later." Ning Xuema quickly told Kirin how to escape later. Kirin nodded repeatedly. It also told Ning Xuema about its misgivings. Their Qilin clan's summoned beasts' ranks were directly proportional to their psychokinesis. Right now it was still a cub, so its psychokinesis wasn't that high. Therefore it could only summon beasts that were rank 6 and below. Beasts that were rank 6 and above would at most run away when they saw it and wouldn't listen to its summons. Ning Xuema understood. However, it was enough to summon a few magical beasts below level 6 in this place. In this short moment of delay, people from all walks of life had already caught up to them. There were more than 100 people rushing up one after another. Strange, why are there so many people in the mountain today? No wonder there is a treasure light in this mountain. It is the Kirin beast. Yes, we did not come in vain. Speaking of which, it has been a long time since a Kirin beast appeared on this continent. Where did this one come from? Ah, there is a little girl riding on the back of this Kirin beast. Who is this little girl? Is she a fairy or a demon? This Kirin beast has a master? In the blink of an eye, these people had surrounded Ning Xuema and were discussing her without any restraint. Ning Xuema glanced at these people's clothes. Obviously they were from different sections. There were men and women, tall and short, fat and thin. Ning Xuema had done quite a bit of homework in the Marquis's mansion over the past few days. She had researched the heritage of the various great sects on the continent and so on. Although it was the first time she had seen many of these people's clothes, she was not unfamiliar with them. Tempest sect, Limitless sect, 7 Stars sect, Boundless sect. There were disciples from 8 to 9 different sects, big and small. However, he didn't see any disciples of the Sun Moon sect. These people were all staring at Kirin, and the light in their eyes couldn't be concealed even if they wanted to. There was no one who didn't want to hunt an eye-catching pet. It would be dazzling and could help them level up. However, the spirit beasts in this world were not that easy to tame. To tame a spirit beast, there were 2 conditions. First, it had to have spiritual intelligence and be able to communicate with its master. Secondly, people who want to subdue spirit beasts need to learn a kind of pet summoning technique. This kind of technique can't be learned without rank 6 human rank or above. Not every spirit beast that had spiritual intelligence could be tamed. Most of the spirit beasts were arrogant, close to demons. Naturally, they were not willing to be controlled by people. Even if they were captured, they would rather be beaten to death than recognize a master. Therefore, if one wanted to tame them, it was impossible to rely on force alone. These spirit beasts must be truly convinced. Only then could they be used by people. Because of the harsh conditions of taming spirit beasts, although there were many magical beasts and spirit beasts on this continent, there were very few who could really tame them. As for the Kirin, it was originally an extremely rare existence. It would not appear for hundreds of years, so no one had ever tamed it. It was said that the continent's #1 ancestor also had several spirit beasts, but there was no Kirin among them. Chapter 275. Now that one had finally appeared, it was being ridden by a little girl who didn't even look 12 or 13 years old. And from the looks of it, Kirin was quite obedient. What was this little girl's background? How did she do it? Countless people had the same question in their hearts. Their gazes towards Ning Xuema were filled with envy, jealousy, and confusion. Ning Xuema sat carefree on Kirin's back. Under the countless gazes, her expression didn't show the slightest bit of uneasiness. She was very calm and at ease. She had already guessed most of these people's identities and was a little surprised. She thought that these disciples of various sects who appeared on the third peak wouldn't be of high status and were most likely new disciples. However, after she swept her eyes over their clothes without batting an eyelid, she realized that there were actually high-ranking people like Commander and Hall Master among them. Their positions in the sects were high, so their martial arts were naturally high as well. Their psychokinesis was at least of human level 7. With her current martial arts, she wouldn't be able to defeat even one of them if she were to fight them head-on. Moreover, there were 17 or 18 of them now. In addition to the other small fries, she definitely wouldn't be able to escape if she didn't use any special methods. Treasures moved people's hearts. Once treasures were involved, even fellow disciples of the same sect might curse each other to death. Moreover, she didn't have any relationship with these people. She didn't even know them. If they were to attack her, they would have no qualms. The reason why they hadn't made a move yet was because they hadn't figured out her background yet. In addition, the others were eyeing her covetously. No one wanted to be the first to test her limits. The situation now looked peaceful, but it was actually very dangerous. If Ning Xuema didn't handle it well, she would probably be surrounded and attacked immediately. Although Kirin could summon 6th level magical beasts, this was the third peak. The highest level magical beasts here were 4th level while the rest were on other peaks. Distant water couldn't quench a present thirst. She would probably have to go through a lot of trouble if she wanted to escape safely. Little girl, which sect are you from? Someone finally spoke. The white robe Ning Xuema was wearing was given to her by Jiozun. Although the material was excellent, there wasn't any symbol of a sect in the style, so they couldn't guess her identity. Her expression was too calm and her posture too relaxed. Even the experienced martial artists with a pair of sharp eyes couldn't see what was wrong with her expression. Only the truly strong would have such an aura. This little girl's face looked unfamiliar. Perhaps she was some hidden expert? Otherwise, how could she tame Kirin? Ning Xuema's gazes, teeth, and hers. Those people were already wary of her. Now that they saw her like this, they didn't dare to act rashly. The person who asked the question was a hall master of the Fragrant Hall of the 7 Stars sect. He was intimidated by Ning Xuema's powerful aura, so his tone became respectful instead. Yesterday, in the middle of the night, this mountain suddenly emitted a brilliance, illuminating the entire place. Our sect leader specially ordered us to come to this mountain to investigate, but unexpectedly, we met your excellency here. May I know who your excellency is? Did you just tame this Qilin beast? Ning Xuema glanced at him again, her voice even colder. Are you going to interrogate me? Chapter 276. Her gaze was extremely sharp and her aura was as oppressive as the sea. That Jianghu felt a chill in his heart and could not help but take a step back. I don't dare. I know you don't dare either. Ning Xuema's tone was cold. Benzin still has matters to attend to, I won't keep you company. She urged Kirin underneath her. Kirin understood and walked towards that Jianghu in large strides. It was obvious that it wanted to let him pass. Her aura was too strong right now. Nobody could figure out her depth, so nobody dared to stop her. Wherever she went, they all got out of her way. That Jianghu was also stunned by her. Seeing her walking towards him, he could not help but move to the side to open up a path. Ning Xuema slowly walked past him. A faint fragrance was emitted from the young girl's body, intoxicating and mysterious. That Jianghu lowered his head and bowed. His expression did not change, but in the end he was not reconciled. He wanted to test Ning Xuema's depth. After Ning Xuema passed by, he suddenly made his move. He raised his hand and a jet black brilliance attacked Ning Xuema's back. Ning Xuema did not seem to notice. Seeing that jet black brilliance was about to reach her back, her figure flashed and suddenly disappeared. That Jianghu was startled. He suddenly felt dizzy. He staggered and fell to the ground with a putong sound. Everybody was originally watching every move that was happening here closely. Ning Xuema's every movement was seen by them. There were so many people present, but not a single person saw her figure clearly. They only saw a faint shadow flashing around that Jianghu. That Jianghu fell to the ground with a putong sound. By the time everybody came back to their senses, Ning Xuema had already returned to Kirin's back. She continued to move forward without even looking back. Everybody was speechless. What a fast speed. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was like thunder and lightning. Just based on this kind of movement, it was enough to prove that this girl was a top expert. That Jianghu could be considered a well-known character on this continent. Unexpectedly, he did not even make a move before he fell to the ground. Nobody even saw how she made her move. What did this mean? An expert? An absolute expert? When did such an expert appear on this continent? They didn't even know about it. Ning Xuema didn't look back, but she knew that she had shocked everyone. They no longer dared to act recklessly. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. She continued to walk at a leisurely pace. Incense Master, Incense Master. The disciples of the Incense Master looked at their Incense Master in panic. The Incense Master's eyes were tightly shut and his face was pale gold. His body was twitching as if he was in extreme pain. His disciples pinched his philtrum and tried all kinds of first aid, but to no avail. Everybody gathered around him, but they could not see anything. The disciples had already tested him with silver needles, but this Jianghu did not look like he was poisoned. Instead, he looked like he was hit by some kind of unique skill. Seeing that the Incense Master was twitching even more violently, one of the disciples was enlightened. He suddenly knelt down in front of Ning Xuema's back. Just now, our Incense Master only wanted to test your skills. He did not have any evil intentions. We hope that your Excellency will be magnanimous enough to forgive our Incense Master's mistake and save his life. He kowtowed repeatedly. Kirin, who was slowly moving forward, paused for a moment. Ning Xuema's voice was indifferent and cold. If he really had evil intentions, how could he still be so angry? Forget it. Seeing that you are from a prestigious and upright sect, I will spare him this time. There will be no next time. She flicked her finger and a pale white pill flew into the disciple's hand. Give it to him. Chapter 277. The disciple was overjoyed. He did not dare to delay and quickly gave the Incense Master the medicine. Everyone raised their heads and looked at Ning Xuema's back. Although they were unwilling, they did not dare to make any moves. However, they were unwilling to let her go like this. Ning Xuema gently patted Kirin's horn. Kirin understood and raised its head to let out a long whistle. The whistle was clear and loud and spread far away. In a moment, all kinds of beasts roared in the surrounding forest. The trees crackled and countless beasts rushed over. Everyone was shocked. Although the level of these beasts was not high, there were many of them. Moreover, there were many kinds of beasts. Among them there was no lack of man-eating beasts. Although there were some experts among these people, most of them were newcomers. Encountering this kind of beast tide, they were afraid that the newcomers would have an accident. Therefore, the experts of the various sects no longer cared about Ning Xuema. They gathered the new disciples together so that it would be easier to protect them. The scene was a bit chaotic. Everyone was facing a great enemy. What they did not expect was that these beasts did not have any intention to attack them. Instead, they just clustered behind Ning Xuema as if they were protecting her. This scene was too shocking. Everyone held their breaths as they watched the scene unfold before them. Ning Xuema's petite figure was like a queen surrounded by the beasts. She slowly went away in front of everyone's eyes. Who is this person? I can't tell. She is dressed in white, and she is a child. Could she be the ancestor's servant? No, it can't be. I have seen the ancestor's servant's clothes. They are not like this. Then could she be from Bright Reverence? They teach techniques to retain one's youthful appearance. This girl may not be young. Everyone was talking about it. They were desperately trying to guess Ning Xuema's identity. However, they could not figure it out. No one had the courage to chase after her. Not far away, a chuckle suddenly came, a bunch of trash. The voice was as elegant as the sound of a zither. Everyone was startled. They raised their heads and looked towards the source of the voice. Then they were all stunned. On a big tree not far away, there was a red-clothed, black-haired man. Under the starlight, his face was as delicate and elegant as a fairy's. His black hair and red robes fluttered in the breeze. There was a hint of enchanting in his gentleness, and there was a hint of wickedness in his enchanting. Like a gorgeous tune, it slowly unfolded in the night. He stepped on a tree branch that was not even as thick as his little finger, as if he was going to ride the wind in the night. There were so many people present, but no one knew when he had arrived. Without a doubt, this person was an expert, and it was the top-notch kind. The crowd did not know if they were lucky or unlucky. Within a single day they had met two experts on the third peak of the Heavenly Book Mountain. Moreover, they had never seen them before. Who are you? What was the meaning of that mocking sentence just now? There is no lack of proud and arrogant men among these people. After being humiliated like this, they naturally have to ask. If it weren't for the fact that the red-clothed man looked refined and elegant, he would have scolded him on the spot. The red-clothed man smiled. His elegant smile slowly bloomed in the night. You were actually scared by a trash little girl. If you are not trash, then what are you? Everyone? Nonsense. How can she be trash? She was able to subdue the Qilin beast, defeat Incense Lord Cheng in one move, and summon 100 beasts to protect her. How can she be trash? Your words should be more reliable. Chapter 278. Yes, she is obviously a hidden master. Her movements are so fast. If she doesn't have an extremely high psychokinesis, it is impossible for her to have such good kung fu. Everyone refuted. You can choose not to believe me. The man's elegant face smiled like a spring breeze. Just don't regret it. He leaped up and disappeared from the tree. Everyone was speechless. Kirin's temptation was too great. If that girl was really a good-for-nothing, they would be scared off by her words. Everyone looked at each other. After a while, a group of people chased after Ning Xuema. Naturally, the others did not want to fall behind. They were afraid that someone else would take the initiative, so they all chased after her. The large open space was once again deserted and cheerless. The man in red slowly appeared on the tree branch. He rubbed his chin with his jade-like hand and looked in the direction Ning Xuema had gone. Little girl, you have to pay the price for scheming against me? How would she deal with the crisis this time? His pair of dark green eyes flashed with anticipation. At this moment, Ning Xuema rode Kirin over the third peak and headed to the second peak. Master, you are so cool. Kirin was excited when she recalled the scene just now. You defeated that old man with one move. How did you do it? Ning Xuema was silent for a moment. Cough, I poisoned him just now. Ah? You didn't do it? Ning Xuema coughed again and said honestly, if we really fought, I couldn't defeat him. Kirin. But he didn't look like he was poisoned. I saw that they also tested it with silver needles. If it was a poison that could be detected by anyone, how could I scare them off? Ning Xuema smiled and patted Kirin's head. The move I used just now has a phrase in Sun Tzu's Art of War. It is called the empty fort strategy. Sun Tzu's Art of War? If Sun Tzu's Art of War is so powerful, then my Art of War must be even more powerful. Master, you should use my Art of War. Although Kirin did not understand half of it, he still suggested excitedly. The corners of Ning Xuema's eyes twitched. I've never written about the Art of War. He only wrote about the Tao Te Ching. Sun Tzu is an honorific. That person was actually called Sun Wu. Ning Xuema began to teach Kirin about the history of her era. The situation just now was extremely dangerous. First, she used her unfathomable and lofty aura to suppress them, and then when she passed by that Jianghu, she released a kind of poisonous powder. This kind of poisonous powder had a serene and elegant aroma. If one only smelled this kind of powder, it would not be poisonous. It was harmless to the human body. After that, she took advantage of the time when the incense master was about to make a move. She used her peerless qing gong and her strange footwork to fly in front of the incense master. Then, in a flash, she used another kind of poison on him. When the two poisons were combined, the poison immediately took effect. It knocked down that arrogant incense master and successfully shocked everyone. Then she let Kirin summon all kinds of fierce beasts to protect her. She appeared even more mysterious and inviolable, making everyone lose the courage to chase after her. To put it bluntly, she had relied on her disgusting poison skills, top-notch qing gong, and unique footwork to create an extremely powerful illusion. She had managed to scare everyone so that she could get out of this predicament. It was similar to Zhuge Liang's empty fort strategy. At that time she did not show it on her face, but her palms were sweating because of nervousness. Now her inner force was quite strong, but her psychokinesis was still ordinary. She could only use her qing gong. If she did not use this method, she would not have been able to escape today. Chapter 279. She was dealing with a group of people, but it was much more dangerous than dealing with a group of ferocious beasts. Fortunately, she was finally out of danger. As long as she was given another 2 hours, she would be able to return to her Marquis Jingyuan's mansion, eat the delicious food prepared by the chef, climb into her own big soft bed, and have a good night's sleep. She believed that this time all of her servants would definitely be present. This adventure could be considered to have come to a successful end. Her eyelashes curved slightly, and just as she was about to smile, she suddenly sensed something and her expression changed. Someone is chasing after us. Kirin was stunned. How do you know? It did not even hear the cries of the birds in the surrounding forest. Be careful underground. Ning Xuema shouted softly. Before her voice died away, rows of sharp stone spikes suddenly stood up from the ground that was full of fallen leaves. At the same time, countless green leaves flew towards the woman and the beast like green arrows. Ning Xuema's upper and lower paths were sealed in an instant. Ning Xuema did not have any weapons in her hands, but fortunately she was playing with a branch. Seeing that the situation was not good, she waved the branch in her palm. Kirin let out a long howl, opened its mouth, and a blue wave swept across the ground. Wherever the blue wave passed, the sharp stone spikes were broken into pieces and turned into powder. Although Ning Xuema used all her strength to sweep away the flying leaves, the force contained in the leaves was too great. Obviously it was sent by a master. Ning Xuema's arm was shaken until it was numb and painful. The branch that was as thick as a thumb was cut into a small section. The back of her hand was also cut by a leaf and there was a bloody wound. Blood was flowing out. Haha, you were just bluffing. This old man almost fell for your trick. A group of people who seemed to have rushed over from the ground came out from the soft ground and landed in front of Ning Xuema. Yes, we were all fooled. This little girl is just SOSO. A group of people also flew down from the surrounding trees. Her psychokinesis is at most level 3. Her footwork is a little strange, but there is nothing else. Another group of people came out from behind the mountain rocks. Groups after groups of people came out with all kinds of tricks, surrounding Ning Xuema in the middle like an iron bucket. Suddenly Ning Xuema couldn't escape. How can such a person be the Qilin master? That's right. She must have gotten lucky and tricked Kirin. Little girl, who are you? I shouldn't have deceived so many seniors. If you know what's good for you, then hand over Kirin. A divine beast should be owned by someone with talent and virtue. Not bad, not bad. It's a waste for a little girl like you to have it. Everyone was shouting and yelling. They all wanted Ning Xuema to hand over the Kirin. Ning Xuema took a deep breath. Just as she was about to speak, she suddenly heard the sound of wings flapping above her head. A cold and crisp voice sounded faintly. How is her psychokinesis low? She's just a psychokinesis trash. Ning Xuema, so this is where you are. Ning Xuema raised her eyebrows and looked up. A red-crowned crane flew over at a low altitude. Before it landed, a young girl jumped down from the crane and landed on the ground. She had phoenix eyes, cherry lips, and the majesty of the imperial family in her coldness. It was the princess of vast sky empire Ji Yunyao. Ji Yunyao was a high-profile person. She was a noble princess and the disciple of the Storm Sect's sect master. Most of the people here knew her. Those who knew her greeted her one after another. The disciples of the Storm Sect even went forward to greet her. Chapter 280. Although these sects were usually not under the control of the imperial family, all under the heavens belonged to the imperial family. The sects in Changkong country naturally did not want to offend the imperial family, but the sects from other countries naturally had some misgivings in other people's territory, so they still gave face to this princess. Even if they did not like her, they still kept a respectful distance and tried their best not to provoke her. When Ji Yunyao arrived, she exposed Ning Xuema's identity, so everyone naturally asked about it. Ji Yunyao was naturally happy to dispel everyone's doubts, so she said with disdain, "She's that super trash miss from Marquis Jingyuan's estate. She doesn't even have a bit of psychokinesis." Because it was hard for a real trash to appear on this continent, Ning Xuema's super trash reputation was very widespread. Almost everyone present had heard of her. Of course, she was recently locked in an iron cage, her engagement with the sixth prince was annulled, and Lihin Ti proposed marriage, but she was kidnapped. These matters were also spread all over the city. These people had recently been active in Changkong country, so they naturally heard about these matters. There were all kinds of pleasant to hear and unpleasant to hear. When these people heard it at that time, they only treated it as a kind of after-dinner entertainment. They didn't expect that the little lass who rode on the little Qilin and almost coaxed them into running around in circles was actually the continent's #1 trash. My imperial father originally took special care of her for the sake of the dead Marquis Ning. Seeing that she was pitiful, he did not care about her bad reputation and wanted to take her as his concubine. Who would have thought that she actually did not know what was good for her and ran here? Ji Yunyao continued to gossip, her eyes flashing with resentment. Wasn't she kidnapped? Someone questioned. Look at her appearance and the clothes she's wearing now, it's obvious that she eloped with someone. This robe is a man's robe. That's right, she must have eloped with her adulterer. She doesn't seem to be wearing pants. It's indecent. It's indecent. Someone yelled. Although Ning Xuema was wearing a robe, she only wore a pair of briefs inside. She was also riding on Kirin's back, so the robe was slightly flipped up, revealing her white calf. When people saw it, they immediately called it out as evidence. Too shameless. So embarrassing. I'm so embarrassed for her. All kinds of discussions were like a basin of dirty water, splashing Ning Xuema without any scruples. Countless gazes fell on Ning Xuema. Their gazes were filled with disdain as they commented on her. Most of the people who made these comments were girls. After all, when Ning Xuema rode on the little Qilin, she was in the limelight. That cool appearance of hers had subdued many people, making her the focus of attention. Naturally, it also attracted the jealousy of many girls present. Originally, they didn't know about Ning Xuema's background, so they were a little hesitant and uncertain. Now that she finally had the chance, she couldn't help but speak harshly. She couldn't wait to step on her a few more times. Ning Xuema smiled. These filthy words might be very hurtful to other girls, and they might not be able to accept it. But to her, this baptism of saliva was no different from tickling. Some things were fine as long as he had a clear conscience. Everything else was up to him. Her gaze fell on Ji Yunyao's face, and Ji Yunyao also looked at her with awe-inspiring righteousness, as if she was looking at a piece of trash. This princess's jealousy was really perverted. Nothing had happened between her and that crown prince, but she had already attracted such a vicious revenge. Since she didn't give her face, then why should she give her face? Did she really think that she was afraid of her? Chapter 281. So it's Princess Yunyao. Why didn't the princess think of a way to stay by your brother Crown Prince's side? Why did you come to Tianshu Mountain? Ning Xuema opened her mouth. Her voice was clear and melodious, but her words were profound and caused people to think. Ji Yunyao was stunned. A thief would always have a guilty conscience, not to mention that she wasn't a very calm person. Ning Xuema's light words poked at her sensitive spot. Her expression changed and she angrily said, "What nonsense are you talking about? How could I think of a way to stay by brother Crown Prince's side? We're siblings." "Ah? Didn't I say you're not siblings? Why is Princess Yunyao so anxious? Could it be that you have a guilty conscience?" Ning Xuema blinked. "You." Ji Yunyao's face turned even redder. "Bastard. When did I have a guilty conscience? Brother Yun Huang and I are innocent. We're siblings, biological siblings. What's wrong with us being close?" "There's indeed nothing wrong with biological siblings being close." Ning Xuema dragged her voice. "However, looking at the princess's usual behavior, I thought you were foster siblings. It seems that I misunderstood. However, the princess's behavior really makes people think." Her words had a double meaning and each sentence had a meaning. Most of the people present were young men and women. People of this age group were always sensitive to emotional gossip. Ning Xuema's words were like a shot of stimulant, instantly lighting up everyone's gossiping factor. It was unknown how many bright eyes fell on Ji Yunyao. Biological sister and biological brother having an affair? It couldn't be, right? Ji Yunyao clenched her fists tightly. She felt that she had always hidden her thoughts very well. How could she be seen through by this little brat in front of her? Just now, when she splashed dirty water on Ning Xuema, she felt incomparably happy. Now this basin of water was splashed back on her. Under everyone's subtle gazes, her charming face turned redder and redder, almost turning purple. "You slut, you're full of nonsense. What behavior did I do that made people think too much? If you don't say something today, I won't let you go." Ning Xuema raised her lips and smiled. "You still remember Lususu, right?" Ji Yunyao's expression changed again. She naturally remembered Lususu. Lususu was once her good friend. She wanted to befriend her, but the purpose of befriending her was not simple. She just wanted to get to know her crown prince brother through her. Every time she talked about her brother, the crown prince, her eyes would light up and she would talk non-stop. This made her extremely unhappy, but she couldn't do anything about it. Later on, this girl even shamelessly confessed her love to her crown prince. However, her crown prince didn't reject her as he did to other girls. He even smiled and sent her away. After chatting with Lususu for a while, he even sent Lususu back home for the first time. This made Ji Yunyao go crazy with jealousy. She finally wanted to kill Lususu. She casually found a reason to throw Lususu into the Ministry of Justice's prison and handed her over to Tui Dao. This matter of hers was done in secret. Could be said that no one knew about it. She didn't expect Ning Xuema to suddenly mention her at this time. In the end, Ji Yunyao had a guilty conscience. Her face was slightly pale. Before she could say anything, a youngster beside her interrupted, "Lususu? Are you talking about my Heavenly Star Sect's flying dragon girl, Lususu?" Ning Shuima glanced at the youngster. "I don't know her nickname, but I heard that she's the disciple of the Heavenly Star Sect's second guardian." "Ah, that's right. She's my senior martial sister. Where is she now?" Chapter 282. She has already been missing for several days. Do you know where she is? The youth's tone became more and more anxious. Ning Shuima glanced at Ji Yunyao. "I think this Princess Yunyao knows her whereabouts. Don't you think so? Princess Yunyao?" Ji Yunyao's face turned pale. She wanted to deny it, but she didn't know what to say. The youth seemed to have sensed that something was wrong and hurriedly said, "No matter which of you knows, please tell me. My master has already sent people to look for her for several days." Ning Shuima lightly said, "She was sent to the Ministry of Justice's prison by this princess. She was charged with stealing the princess's things." The youth's face changed. "Impossible. My senior sister has always been open and above board. She would never steal other people's things. This must be a false accusation." His gaze was sharp as he looked at Ji Yunyao. "Princess Yunyao, is what she said true?" Ji Yunyao choked. "This," Ning Shuima said from the side, "this matter can't be concealed. The Heavenly Star Sect only needs to send people to the Ministry of Justice's prison to investigate and they will know." Ji Yunyao also knew that she couldn't fool them. She could only harden her heart and say, She entered the palace to steal my jade silk vest. I really did send the Ministry of Justice to investigate this matter? Impossible." The youth's handsome face turned red. "My senior sister has her own mermaid silk jade clothes. Isn't it much better than the jade silk vest? How could she steal from you? There must be something fishy about this matter. I will go back to report to my master. Someone will go to the Ministry of Justice to investigate this matter and return my senior sister's innocence." "Miss Ning, is my senior sister still in prison? She didn't receive any punishment, right?" Ning Shuima slightly sighed. "She is no longer in prison." At that time, the princess handed her over to Tui Dao. The youth's face completely changed. He had heard of Tui Dao's reputation in the Ministry of Justice's prison. That was a living king of hell. His senior sister had actually fallen into his hands? Then, the youth almost didn't dare to think about it. After pausing, he gritted his teeth and said, "How does Miss Ning know that my senior sister has fallen into his hands? If she isn't in prison, where is she?" In a few words, Ning Shuima explained that she had been wrongly accused and had also been sent to the Ministry of Justice's prison. Coincidentally, she happened to witness Tui Dao's execution of Lususu. Naturally, she also mentioned Lususu's final ending. The young man's face was deathly pale. He gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, "Princess, what do you have to say?" This time there were quite a few disciples from the Heavenly Star Sect, and they were all standing behind the young man. Lususu's prestige in the sect was not low. When these people heard that she had fallen into such a miserable state, naturally they were all angry. Countless burning eyes stared at Ji Yunyao, waiting for her to give an explanation. Ji Yunyao wanted to cut Ning Shuima into pieces. At this time she could only evade. "Don't listen to her nonsense. I only ordered the Ministry of Justice to investigate this case. I don't know what happened after that." "You don't know?" Ning Shuima sneered. "I personally heard Tui Dao say that the princess personally handed her over to him. He even said that no matter what, she had to confess. That was why Tui Dao was so unscrupulous in torturing her." "Why? The princess used to be my senior sister's good friend. Why did she frame her like this? Why did she want to take her life?" The youth's eyes were about to spit fire. "Because she likes Ji Yunhuang." Ning Shuima exposed the truth and sneered slightly. "The princess doesn't allow any woman to like Crown Prince Yunhuang. When I was sent to prison it was because Crown Prince Yunhuang treated me slightly better, which made her want to kill me." Chapter 283. Crown Prince Yunhuang only has true sibling affection for her, but her feelings for Crown Prince Yunhuang are... Nonsense. Nonsense. You're talking nonsense. Ji Yunyao's face turned green and white. "She stole my things." The youth clenched his fists. "This is a serious matter. Our Heavenly Star Sect will thoroughly investigate this matter. We will return my senior sister's innocence and seek justice. Let's go." That youth was clearly the leader of this group of Heavenly Star Sect disciples. When he turned around, the other Heavenly Star Sect disciples also followed him. The remaining people looked at each other in dismay and then looked at Ji Yunyao one after another. No matter what era, siblings having an incestuous love would be despised by others. Just now, Ning Xuema and Ji Yunyao's battle of words had made everyone understand the cause of this matter. No one knew whether Ji Yunhuang had that kind of feelings for this sister, but this princess who had always been noble and virtuous indeed had a perverted love for her brother. Ji Yunyao knew that although it was impossible to determine the truth of this matter, her feelings had been mercilessly exposed by Ning Xuema. From today onwards, her reputation would be thoroughly tarnished. Her reputation would be worse than Ning Xuema, this trash. And the rumors would be even worse. What's more, as long as the Heavenly Star sect got involved in this matter, it would inevitably be revealed to the world. At that time, her reputation would be even worse. Those who humiliated others would be humiliated. Ning Xuema coldly looked at her. Bullying her would have to pay the price. She had given this woman a chance, but she was blind and insisted on provoking her. "I'll kill you, this slut who is full of nonsense." Ji Yunyao was thoroughly enraged. Her figure rose up and a light green blade flashed in her hand. The wind was like a wave as it swept towards Ning Xuema's waist. She could also be considered a genius. Her psychokinesis cultivation had already reached the 6th level. This move was launched by her with anger, so its power was exceptionally great. Just as she made her move, countless astral winds whistled and flew towards Ning Xuema. Everyone looked at each other and tacitly retreated, making an open space for them to fight. These people also had different thoughts. Some of them were just here to watch the show, while others didn't want to offend the royal princess. Of course, they didn't want to help her either. More importantly, they could take the opportunity to see how good Ning Xuema's kung fu was. He could also figure out how to seize Kirin. No matter which side of the two girls lost, it would be beneficial for them. They were happy to sit back and reap the benefits. Fortunately, Ning Xuema was prepared for it. She didn't panic when she was attacked and calmly fought back. Ji Yunyao's martial arts skills were indeed not low, and her techniques were also very powerful. Every move she made was full of grace, and her movements were as light as a fairy's. On the other hand, Ning Xuema's psychokinesis was not as good as her, but she had extraordinary inner strength. Moreover, her combat experience was extraordinarily rich. Her movements were clean and neat, strange and changeable, and her moves were often unexpected. When she started to fight with Ji Yunyao, she was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, she was mostly on the defensive. After more than 10 moves, she figured out her opponent's martial arts style and quickly found the flaws in his moves. She sneered in her heart. This Ji Yunyao was extremely vain. When she was fighting, she always paid attention to her posture. Her moves were beautiful, but there were obvious flaws in them. As long as she met a real expert, she would be defeated. Ning Xuema didn't care too much about incestuous love, but this woman had provoked her, so don't blame her for being impolite. As soon as she counterattacked, Ji Yunyao was immediately forced into a fluster, unable to attend to the end. Chapter 284. The onlookers were watching from outside the circle. Ning Xuema's moves were beyond their expectations. This girl's telekinesis was not high. Or rather, she wasn't using telekinesis at all. She was using another mysterious force. She was flying and her movements were as fast as lightning. She didn't have a weapon in her hand, but when she made her moves, the sound of the wind was sharp and ear-piercing. Her movements were so fast that not many people present could clearly see the changes in her movements. They could only see a white shadow with continuous afterimages, circling around Ji Yunyao and circling around her. Everyone was shocked. What kind of martial arts was this girl practicing? They had never seen it before. A good-for-nothing in telekinesis had forced a master of the 6th rank into a corner and put him in danger several times. How was she a good-for-nothing? How could a good-for-nothing have such good martial arts? Also, what kind of footwork was her footwork? Natural and smooth. Unfathomable. At first, the onlookers were only paying attention to the fight between the two. Later, more and more people were looking at Ning Xuema. Most of the onlookers were martial arts fanatics. Naturally, they were curious to see martial arts that they had never seen before. They were so engrossed in the fight that they even forgot their initial goal. Kirin was standing on the side, watching the white figure in the fight. Its big eyes were filled with pride. That was its master. No matter what difficulties she encountered, she would never back down. She would never suffer losses, and she was cruel to those who insulted her. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. I liked it. Seeing that Ji Yunyao was forced to step back, Kirin's blood was boiling. It couldn't help but shout, "Master, come on. Beat this shameless woman to death." As soon as it spoke, everyone was stunned. They knew that pets of the highest rank could communicate with their masters. But they didn't know that this Kirin could speak. No wonder it was a legendary mythical creature. What did it call that girl? Master? It seemed that only pets with blood contracts would call their masters. The others would just call them yes. This little girl had established a blood contract with Kirin? That was impossible. In this world, a written contract would be established when a pet was tamed, written in a special kind of ink. Once the contract was established, the pet would act according to its master's orders, but it would not live and die with its master. If the master unfortunately died, then the pet could establish a contract with someone else. But blood contracts were a legendary existence. Only those whose mental power had reached heaven rank 1 could establish a blood contract with their master. From then on, the master and the pet would live and die together. If the master died, the pet would die. When everyone saw Ning Xuemo riding Kirin for the first time and saw that Kirin was obedient to her, they thought that they had established a written contract between them, which was why they were trying to obtain it. At first they only had 2 plans. If Ning Xuemo was sensible enough to give up Kirin and cancel the written contract, they wouldn't kill her. After all, they were from a prestigious family. Killing a little girl and ruining their reputation wasn't worth it. If Ning Xuemo didn't know what was good for her, then they would find a legitimate reason to kill her. That would mean that the contract between her and Kirin would be nullified. Kirin could still establish a contract with the stronger ones among them, but now it seemed that both of these possibilities were gone. Even if they could kill this little girl, Kirin wouldn't be able to live. Once a blood contract was established, it was close to impossible to cancel it. Unless they were also experts with heaven-rank mental power and used the same method to cancel the blood contract, it was impossible to do so. Chapter 285. And as far as they know, on this continent, there is only one person who has reached the heaven rank. The Overlord. The Overlord actually helped this trash little girl? Is it possible? Some people didn't give up and couldn't help but ask Kirin, mythological beast Kirin, can you understand human language? What kind of contract did you establish with this little girl? That, a written contract doesn't require you to call her master. Kirin rolled its eyes at the man. It can speak human language, how can it not understand human language? Idiot. Shut your beak. How can I, a mythological beast, not understand human language? Let me tell you, I established a blood contract with my master. Do you know what a blood contract is? Ignorant. Everyone. They were shocked. It really is a blood contract. Then what is the relationship between this little girl and the Overlord? Everyone vaguely remembered a legend about Ning Xuemo. It seems that when she was locked in the iron cage and was almost executed, it was the Overlord who sent a boy to uphold justice for her. This trash little girl actually received the Overlord's favor? Or is it that another heaven-rank master has appeared on this continent? Everyone thought of the man in red who suddenly appeared. Although they didn't fight with him, they felt an inexplicably strong pressure from him, which made them instantly keep quiet out of fear. Even after being insulted by his words, they didn't dare to act rashly. Mythological beast Kirin, who helped you establish the contract with your master. Someone wanted to take advantage of Kirin's naive and ignorant look and wanted to dig out the truth from its mouth. Who knew that Kirin rolled its eyes and coolly replied, "Who do you think you are? Why should this mythological beast tell you? No matter who it is, you bunch of common people have no right to know." Everyone. They could only shut up. They were doomed to not get the mythological beast Kirin. If they could get this little girl and recruit her into their sect, wouldn't that be the same as recruiting the mythological beast? But they didn't know if this little girl had a sect or not, so they began to ask Kirin about Ning Xuemo's sect. However, Kirin looked ignorant and tight-lipped and didn't answer their questions at all. Wait for Master to deal with that crazy princess. You can go and ask her yourselves. Miss Ning, do you want to join our limitless sect? Our limitless sect can be said to be the 3rd largest sect on the continent. Some people were impatient and started to recruit. When one person spoke, the others naturally did not want to be left behind. The leaders of the various sects all spoke up one after another. Miss Ning, don't listen to his nonsense. The Limitless sect is not the 3rd largest sect. Our Storm sect is. If you join our Wind Cloud sect, this protector will make the decision to let you become an inner sect disciple. This is a rare opportunity. You have to seize it. What a joke. How can the Tempest sect be the 3rd major sect? A scholarly-looking person spoke and said proudly, "Our Boundless sect is the 3rd major sect. Lady Ning, you should join our Boundless sect. This elder will personally take you in. Our limitless sect is the third largest sect. Our wind cloud sect is. Who in the pugilistic world doesn't know that our boundless sect is publicly recognized as the third strongest sect? Aren't you afraid that you'll bite your tongue if you say that? In order to recruit Ning Xuema, these people each pulled the other's leg and showed off their own sect's prestige. They fought for the title of the third largest sect until their faces and ears turned red. In the end, they stretched out their arms and rolled up their sleeves as if they wanted to fight. Chapter 286. Ning Xuema pretended that she didn't hear their argument. She didn't need to think to understand why these people wanted to take her in. It was nothing more than taking a liking to her Kirin. As for her, she was probably just an accessory, a free gift. Ji Yunyao was even angrier. The lowly girl in front of her was obviously a good-for-nothing. She shouldn't even care about dogs, but these sects were actually fighting over her like dogs fighting over a bone. What's more, there was even her own sect's leading senior among them. This made her lose face even more, and the hatred in her heart surged like the waves of the sea. Lowly girl, don't be so smug. They're only fighting over your Kirin. They can't be bothered with a good-for-nothing like you. In the midst of the fight, she couldn't help but mock. Noble princess, I think they're definitely very willing to recruit you. After all, there aren't many people in this world who are infatuated with their own brother. Ning Xuemo replied with a smile. Her ability to insult others was not inferior to others. Ji Yunyao's sore spot was stepped on again and again, and she was simply mad with anger. Her moves were even more ruthless, and she couldn't wait to cut Ning Xuema into pieces with one move. She originally wanted to provoke Ning Xuema into being distracted, but she didn't expect that Ning Xuema would provoke her to be even more irritated. In a fight, the worst thing to do was to have an unstable state of mind. Ji Yunyao's mind wandered for a moment, allowing Ning Xuema to find an opening and directly barge in. With a beautiful empty-handed grab, Ji Yunyao's sword was snatched away by Ning Xuema. She was shocked and hurriedly retreated. Ning Xuema sneered and turned her long sword in a circle, slashing towards her head. Her footwork was like the wind, and Ji Yunyao couldn't dodge at all. Her expression changed and she screamed, "You can't kill me. If you kill me, even Brother Crown Prince won't let you off." Bah! Ning Xuema's sword slashed diagonally onto her pretty face. Ji Yunyao's face suddenly hurt, and she thought that her face was split into two. She was so frightened that she screamed again, and her body flew backwards like a hawk. "Even if I kill you, he won't do anything to me." Ning Xuema took a step forward and continued to approach her. "You have such dirty thoughts about him. He will be ashamed of you." This princess's desire for revenge and jealousy could already be described as perverted. She had to teach this kind of woman a lesson so that she would be frightened for the rest of her life. Ji Yunyao's mouth was filled with blood. Half of her face was numb and painful. Her entire life had been smooth sailing. Because of her status as a princess, everyone treated her with respect and courtesy. No one had ever really disobeyed her. This had nurtured her arrogant and despotic temperament. If things didn't go as he wished, he would beat and scold others. She had never suffered such a huge loss before. At this moment, seeing Ning Xuema pouncing on her again, obviously unwilling to let her go, she was shocked, angry, and finally scared. This little girl whom she had always looked down on was actually not someone to be trifled with. At this moment he was like the god of death, closing in step by step. "Ji Yunyao, I'll make you regret provoking me." Ji Yunyao was intimidated by her fierce aura and desperately retreated in fear. "You can't. You wouldn't dare." "Why can't I?" "Ji Yunyao, I didn't want to lower myself to your level, but you're the one who asked for it." Ning Xuema's figure flashed, and the sword in her palm shot out towards her neck. Ji Yunyao was almost scared out of her wits. She regretted it. She really regretted it. She regretted provoking this little devil. She hurriedly dodged again. Ning Xuema's movements were like lightning, and the sword's light circled around her. Chapter 287. Ning Xuema's movements were as fast as lightning, and the sword's light circled around her. In just a moment, Ji Yunyao's clothes were torn, her skirt was shortened, and her face was slapped by the sword. They were red and hot, and it was unknown if they were disfigured. At first, Ji Yunyao was still cursing endlessly, but later on she could no longer be firm. When Ning Xuema's sword pierced through her ribs, her sleeves were cut in half, and a piece of her flesh was also cut off. She finally began to collapse. Okay, I was wrong. Now you know that you were wrong? It's too late." Ning Xuema's wrist turned, and the sword's light slanted and rushed towards her left shoulder. Ning Xuema actually did not want to take Ji Yunyao's life. After all, this girl was Ji Yunhuang's biological sister. If she killed her, it would be difficult to explain to Ji Yunhuang. After all, Ji Yunhuang treated her very well, so she had to give him face. However, she also had to teach this princess a lesson. Only this way, this princess would remember it for the rest of her life and not dare to cause trouble again. Stop. Suddenly, a voice came from afar. Following the voice, a faint blue light with a sharp whistling sound rushed towards Ning Xuema's chest. When Ning Xuema heard that shout, her heart skipped a beat. When she saw the blue light in front of her, her expression changed slightly. In her hurry, she did not care about hurting Ji Yunyao anymore. She pulled back her sword to defend herself against the blue light. Bang! With a loud sound, the blue light collided with her treasured sword. Ning Xuema's wrist went numb, and the sword in her hand flew out, flying straight to the sky. Ning Xuema was originally standing on top of a blue stone, but when she was hit by the blue light, her footing became unstable. She stumbled and retreated a few steps before steadying herself. Her ankle was burning with pain. She sprained her ankle. Ning Xuema slowly raised her head and saw a white-clothed man jumping down from a golden-eyed eagle. Brother? Ji Yunyao looked as if she had seen her savior. She cried out in joy and directly threw herself into the white-clothed man's embrace. The white-clothed man was handsome and tall. Among the group of handsome men and beautiful women, he was also incomparably handsome and calm. Ji Yunhuang. It was actually Ji Yunhuang. Brother. This slug bullied me. Ooh, I don't want to live anymore. Ji Yunyao tightly hugged his waist, crying like a person. Her face was still red and swollen, and one of her front teeth were also broken. Ji Yunhuang looked at his sister in his embrace. He had never seen his sister in such a sorry state before. His body was covered in spots of blood, and his clothes had been shredded to the point that he looked like he was wearing rags. His skin was exposed in many places. He subconsciously took off his outer robe and wrapped it around Ji Yunyao. He looked at Ning Xuema who was standing there and then looked at Ji Yunyao who was in his embrace. He furrowed his brows. What exactly happened? Now that Ji Yunyao had someone to rely on, she felt more confident and immediately cried, "Brother, I was looking for her whereabouts for you. It was not easy for me to find her here. When I saw her, I liked her very much. When I saw that she seemed to have some misunderstanding with these people, I told them her identity. Who would have thought that she would fly into a rage out of humiliation? She actually insulted our reputations like a madwoman, said that we were unbearable. I was so angry that I wanted to teach her a lesson. I wanted to teach her a lesson and let her know when to back off. She actually used underhanded tricks on me. Brother, you have to help me." Her words seemed to be right but were actually wrong. She completely distorted the truth. Ji Yunhuang's gaze fell on Ning Xuema, and his complexion was not good. "Xuema, is this true?" Chapter 288. Ning Xuema's ankle was still burning with pain. Kirin probably saw that something was wrong with her and hurriedly ran over to let her lean on him. Ning Xuema flipped onto Kirin's back and glanced at Ji Yunhuang. "You believe what she said?" Ji Yunhuang stiffened and looked at Ning Xuema with a complicated gaze. "Yunyao has never lied in front of me." Ning Xuema smiled and tilted her head to look at the two people who were hugging each other. "Since it's like this, why are you still asking me?" "Brother, she thinks that she has a bargaining chip after subduing Kirin, so she doesn't put anyone in her eyes. Just now she said something about you and me. It's very unpleasant to hear. I'm fine with it since I'm just a princess. Brother, you are the crown prince of Chongkong Empire. Your reputation can't be tarnished. You treated her so well, but she actually repaid your kindness with enmity. She's too much." Ji Yunyao raised her tear-stained face and continued to complain. In front of so many people, Ji Yunhuang's handsome face became even more serious. He looked at Ning Xuema with a cold gaze. Ning Xuema apologized. He had seen Ning Xuema's cunning and scheming. She had the temperament of a little fox. She dared to provoke and beat up anyone. She dared to tarnish anyone's reputation. Originally he was attracted by her temperament, but now he felt that she had gone overboard. It seemed that he had indulged her too much. Ning Xuema slightly raised her head and looked at Ji Yunhuang for a few seconds. The corner of her lips curled up. What if I say no? She had to apologize to this princess? Not a chance. Although her charming face was smiling, her gaze was cold. Ji Yunhuang took a deep breath. I won't apologize to her. Ning Xuema said word by word. Her voice was cold and crisp. I only regret that I showed her mercy just now. With her original temperament, how could she allow someone like Ji Yunyao to live? She actually dared to refute him. And he even said such words. Ji Yunhuang looked at his blood-soaked sister in his arms, then looked at Ning Xuema's proud little face. He slowly clenched his fists. Ning Xuema, this prince will say one more thing. Apologize. Apologize to Yunyao. Otherwise this prince. If not, what are you going to do? Don't tell me you're going to hit me for her? Ning Xuema's heart was burning with anger. She had long heard that Ji Yunhuang doted on his younger sister very much. Every time she got into trouble, as long as he was there, he would stand up for her regardless of who was in the wrong. She was skeptical at first, but now it seemed that it was true. Ji Yunhuang never thought that this little girl would dare to challenge his bottom line in front of so many people. He looked gentle and refined, but he was actually proud and arrogant. Ji Yunyao took the opportunity to add fuel to the fire, causing Ji Yunhuang's anger to soar even higher. This little girl was too undisciplined and out of control. Did she really think that he wouldn't do anything to her? In his anger, he raised his hand. Ning Xuema, you really disappoint me. A blue light shot out from his palm and transformed into a large hand in midair. It slapped towards Ning Xuema. Bang! That hand slapped Ning Xuema's ribs. Ning Xuema's face paled. Her body swayed on the Qilin's back. A mouthful of blood rushed up to her throat, but she forced herself to swallow it down. A line of blood flowed down from the corner of her mouth. Ji Yunhuang never thought that this palm would actually hit him. He was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but take a step forward. Xuema. With her inner strength and qinggong, she should be able to dodge this palm. Chapter 289. Master. Kirin anxiously shouted. On the way here, Ning Xuema had told it about her friendship with the crown prince. It thought that he was Ning Xuema's friend and would not harm Ning Xuema, so it was not prepared and did not have time to set up a protective barrier. Now that it saw that Ning Xuema was injured, it was furious. It seemed that this friend was not trustworthy. What a biased person. It opened its mouth and spat out a ball of water, which instantly turned into an ice ball in the air and smashed towards Ji Yunhuang's face. Master treated you as a friend, but you hurt her. The ice ball was as big as a basketball and brought with it a frightening sound. Even Ji Yunhuang did not dare to face it head-on and could only swing his sword and knock it against the ice ball. His original intention was to deflect the ice ball away, but he did not expect that the ice ball would explode in an instant and turn into countless small ice balls, which smashed onto his body. Of course, it also smashed onto Ji Yunyao, who was in his embrace. The power of these ice balls was not small, causing Ji Yunyao, who was watching Ning Xuema, to let out a groan. Ji Yunhuang's cultivation was profound, so these ice balls only caused him some pain and did not cause any other harm. Hearing Ji Yunyao's discomfort, he subconsciously asked, Yunyao, how are you? Ji Yunyao's eyes were brimming with tears. Brother, my body hurts. When we go back, let the imperial physician take a look at you. Okay. Brother, I will listen to you. Ji Yunyao was always very obedient in front of Ji Yunhuang. Actually, Ji Yunhuang had already secretly checked her body and found out that her injuries were all superficial and nothing serious. Thus he was able to relax. In the end, he was still worried about Ning Xuema and hurriedly raised his head to look at her. Ning Xuema's face was as white as a sheet of paper. It was obvious that she had suffered internal injuries. She pacified the little Qilin who still wanted to throw another ice ball. She shot a glance at Ji Yunhuang and faintly said, Your Highness the Crown Prince, you once saved my life. Now that I've received your palm, we're even. I do not owe you anything anymore. You better control your little sister well. The next time she insults me, I will not be merciful to her. Little apple, let's go. Kirin immediately snorted coolly and turned around to leave. Ji Yunhuang's heart suddenly sank, as if he had completely lost something. He panicked and hurriedly said, Xuema, wait. He subconsciously wanted to chase after her, but Ji Yunyao called out softly, Brother. I feel terrible. While Ji Yunhuang was in a daze, Kirin had already carried Ning Xuema far away. Everyone knew that it was useless to stop her at this time. They looked at each other and dispersed. As for how to recruit this little girl, each of them had their own ideas. Big brother, let's go too. Don't pay any more attention to that slut who doesn't know what's good for her. It was rare for Ji Yunyao to be able to lie in her brother's arms. She simply didn't want to get up. She subconsciously hugged his neck like a little bird. Ji Yunhuang's body stiffened and he lowered his eyes to look at her. Yunyao, I've always doted on you and you've always been sensible in front of me. Don't lie to me. Ji Yunyao's heart jumped. Yunyao. Yunyao definitely won't lie to big brother. Very good, remember what you said? Ji Yunhuang raised his hand to summon Ji Yunyao's red-crowned crane and placed her on it. Go back to the city first. Ji Yunyao panicked and hurriedly hugged his neck. Big brother, I'm injured. I want you to take me with you. Big brother still has things to do. Be good, the injuries on your body are only superficial. Let the imperial physician treat it for you and you'll be fine. Go back first. He wanted to pull her hands away. Chapter 290. Ji Yunyao was so angry that she hugged him even tighter. Brother, you went to look for that slut again? She already treated you like that. Shut up. Ji Yunhuang's face darkened. You're not allowed to talk about her like that. In the future, she will be your royal sister-in-law. It was earth-shattering. Ji Yunyao's face changed greatly. She couldn't help but shout in anger, royal sister-in-law? Brother, you're crazy. How is she worthy? She's a trash of psychokinesis and even has an affair with a man. With such a bad reputation, even if she warms your bed, she's still not worthy. Shut up. Ji Yunhuang's face darkened and a storm was brewing. Ji Yunyao, have you always thought of her like that? Then just now. It was rare for him to speak so harshly to Ji Yunyao. Ji Yunyao became even angrier. Blood rushed to her head and she became dizzy. She shouted, she's already worse than a slut. Didn't you see her body just now? She was clearly wearing men's clothes and her legs were bare, just like a seductive slut. Pa! Ji Yunyao's face received a heavy slap. Ji Yunyao, no wonder she treated you like that just now. You're a princess, how can you speak so viciously? Ji Yunhuang was so angry that his hands were trembling. He never knew that his sister was so unreasonable. Did he really wrongly accuse Shuema just now? Although that girl had always been as cunning as a little fox, she still had a bottom line. If you didn't really provoke her, she would still be kind to others and even have a code of brotherhood. She was ruthless to Ji Yunyao, so she must have provoked her too much. Thinking about Ning Shuema's cold gaze and resolute words when she left, his heart suddenly ached. Was he wrong? This was not the result he wanted. He clearly came to look for her. Ji Yunyao caressed her face in disbelief. Her eyes were wide open. You hit me? Brother, you actually hit me because of that slut. Ji Yunhuang tore off his clothes that she had been holding on to and took a step back. He coldly said, Yunyao, you're not allowed to interfere in my matters. Also, even though we're siblings, there's still a difference between men and women. In the future, don't go to the crown prince's residence. If there's nothing important, don't see me. He turned around and jumped onto the large eagle that he had ridden here, leaving like a whirlwind. He was going to look for Ning Shuema and tell her that he had been very worried ever since he found out about her disappearance. He had been searching for her day and night. Ji Yunyao was simply dumbfounded. She clutched the red-crowned crane's feathers tightly. The hatred in her eyes surged like a tidal wave. Ning Shuema. Ning Shuema. Sooner or later, I'll make you wish you were dead. The eagle that Ji Yunhuang was riding was naturally very fast. He thought that with his speed, he would be able to catch up with Ning Shuema in less than a quarter of an hour and explain everything to her. However, he didn't expect that even after chasing in that direction for an hour, he still didn't see Ning Shuema. Kirin shouldn't be that fast, right? The eagle's eyes were sharp, and the large eagle he was riding on was one of the best. As it flew in the air, even a rabbit running across the ground within a radius of tens of miles would not be able to escape its eyes. In order to find Ning Shuema, he purposely let the large eagle fly lower and lower, almost brushing against the treetops. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have missed Ning Shuema and Kirin. Unless she didn't take this path down the mountain. However, there was only one path up the mountain. If she didn't take this path, where else would she go? Chapter 291. Ning Shuema's figure flashed through his mind. Naturally, he also thought of the Kirin. His heart suddenly skipped a beat. Suddenly he hit his own head hard. Damn it. He had actually overlooked the most important issue. He had accompanied the ancestor in the palace for 4 whole days. He had not taken a single step out of the frozen palace. Every day, other than occasionally answering the ancestor's questions, he would just sit there and meditate. Naturally, he was also worried about Ning Shuema who had left earlier. However, following the ancestor was a rule. If the ancestor did not leave, he would not be able to leave. The ancestor was also strange. Every day, other than occasionally talking to him, he would also spend most of his time meditating. He sat there like an ice sculpture. He did not see anyone else, nor did he go out to meet the emperor and civil and military officials who were paying their respects every day. He really did not know why the ancestor had stayed here for these few days. Don't try to guess the ancestor's intentions because even a deity would not be able to guess it. Therefore, although Ji Yunhuang was a little puzzled, he was too lazy to try to figure out the ancestor's intentions. The ancestor had said that he would stay in the palace for 3 days, but for some reason he stayed for an extra day, causing Ji Yunhuang to accompany him for an extra day. Fortunately, accompanying the ancestor was very beneficial. For example, he would give Ji Yunhuang a date to eat every day. That date was obviously not an ordinary one. It could greatly replenish the vitality in the body. Not only would he not be hungry, but it would also increase his resistance to the cold. Although he had been staying in the frozen palace, he would not feel cold. His psychokinesis had also increased. These 4 days by the ancestor's side was equivalent to half a year of his own cultivation. 4 days later, the ancestor finally left. It was only after Ji Yunhuang left the palace that he found out that Ning Xuema had been betrothed by the emperor and that she had been kidnapped. He was very strict with his subordinates. There were all kinds of talents in the crown prince's residence. During these 4 days, the aides in the crown prince's residence knew that he had a special impression of Ning Xuema. Therefore, they had already started investigating this matter. Therefore, not long after Ji Yunhuang left, he found out that Ning Xuema was not kidnapped. She was just trying to escape from the marriage. When he found out about all this, he was both happy and surprised. He was shocked that this girl was so bold that she dared to run away from the emperor's wedding. What made him happy was that she could even refuse the emperor's great favor of making her a concubine. It could be seen that she was not the kind of woman who chased after fame and fortune. He had not misjudged her at the beginning. Moreover, the little girl was smart enough to come up with such a plan that even his imperial father was unable to do anything about it. When he entered the palace and saw his father's sullen face, he was secretly pleased. Of course, his men had also investigated and found out that after Ning Xuema had escaped from the city, she had entered the Heavenly Book Mountain with number 2 by her side. What worried him the most was that the Crown Prince's residence had once sent experts into Heavenly Book Mountain to secretly protect that girl. However, they had not expected that after searching the entire 3 peaks, they would not be able to find them. It had been 4 days, and the girl seemed to have disappeared into thin air. No one had seen her again. Some people even suspected that she had met with misfortune in the mountains. Ji Yunhuang's heart was also burning with anxiety. He sent out all the elites from the Crown Prince's residence to search the mountains. He himself had also carefully searched the peaks one by one. However, he did not expect that when he searched the 3rd peak, the giant eagle he was riding on had sensed Ji Yunyao's existence and screamed. Chapter 292. He thought that she had encountered some ferocious beast, so he hurried over, but what he saw was Ning Xuema attacking Ji Yunyao. When he saw that Ning Xuema was fine, his joy was diluted by shock and anger. Protecting this sister of his had already become a habit in his bones. Perhaps he saw Ning Xuema as his future wife, so he unconsciously raised his expectations of her. Seeing her like this, he actually felt disappointed and angry, so he wanted her to be more sensible. But he didn't expect that one slap from him would break the friendship that he had built with great difficulty. When she coldly called him Crown Prince, his usually calm heart actually felt as if a cat was scratching it. It was as if something was completely destroyed by his slap, and could never be found again. At that time, the situation was too chaotic, plus Ji Yunyao was crying and throwing a tantrum in his arms, which made his heart uneasy. He actually didn't think of why so many people were surrounding Ning Xuema. Now that he suddenly thought of that little Qilin, it was as if he was suddenly enlightened and came to a realization. The Kirin beast, one of the 5 mythical beasts, had never appeared in Tianxi continent for thousands of years. It was rumored that the one who had the Kirin would win the world. No matter if it was the big sects or the monarchs of the various countries, once they knew of the existence of the Kirin beast, they would definitely think of ways to snatch it. And Ning Xuema didn't know what kind of freak combination of factors, but she actually obtained the Kirin beast. As the saying goes, an ordinary man is innocent, but treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. Those people who surrounded Ning Xuema were definitely after the Kirin beast. Although Ning Xuema's medical skills were high, her psychokinesis was not that good. If she wanted to escape, she would definitely use a trick. Although he didn't know what kind of trick Ning Xuema used, he knew that at this time, she definitely couldn't reveal her identity. Yet at this time, his younger sister exposed her identity and even spoke rudely. It was obvious that she harbored evil intentions. It was no wonder that Ning Xuema didn't give him any face and mercilessly killed Ji Yunyao. That's not right. He checked Ji Yunyao's injuries. Although she looked to be in a sorry state, they were all superficial wounds and wouldn't be fatal. It seemed that Ning Xuema had a sense of propriety when she made her move. She still cared about his reputation. She had taken care of his reputation, but he had seriously injured her in front of so many people. Recalling Ning Xuema's pale face at that time, Ji Yunhuang felt like stabbing himself with a knife. He rode the eagle back and forth several times, but still couldn't find Ning Xuema's whereabouts. Instead, he saw several groups of people who had besieged Ning Xuema. He eavesdropped on the conversations of several groups of people. From their conversations, he roughly understood what had happened to Ning Xuema at that time. The regret in his heart grew heavier. Of course, he had also heard the gossip about him and Ji Yunyao. While he was angry, he was also shocked. Although he and Ning Xuema hadn't known each other for a long time, he still had some understanding of her temper. He knew that she wasn't the kind of person who liked to make up nonsense. She also wouldn't randomly make up this story just because Ji Yunyao had exposed her identity and insulted her. She must have really seen through something. Could it be that Yunyao really harbored such unbearable feelings for him? Was Lisusu really harmed because of this? There were also other girls. It seemed that the girls who had confessed to him had all disappeared without a trace. He had never seen them again. He had never paid attention to the confessions and adoration of those girls, so even though he hadn't seen them again, he didn't take it to heart and didn't even think about it. Now that he thought about it, he broke out in cold sweat. Chapter 293. Were those other girls also secretly harmed like Lisusu? He took a deep breath. Now was not the time to think about these trivial matters. Finding Ning Xuema was more important. She was a lonely girl who was heavily injured. She also had the coveted Qilin beast by her side. She was simply like a child carrying a big bag of jewelry on the street. Her situation was not ordinary. He had to find her as soon as possible and bring her under his protection. Ning Xuema's figure appeared in his mind again. She was indeed wearing a man's robe. When he made his move, he also saw her exposed calf when the robe fluttered in the wind. His heart felt like it was blocked by a lump of iron, and he felt indescribably uncomfortable. What did she experience in the past 4 days? What about number 2? Who gave her the robe? Who made the blood contract between her and Kirin? Could it be the person who gave her the robe? Countless questions revolved in his mind. He naturally did not believe that the ancestor was behind this. The ancestor was in the palace these past few days. He personally accompanied him for a few days. Could it be that he was lying? It could not be that the ancestor could clone himself, right? This was absolutely impossible. Then who could that person be? He forced himself to suppress the rolling questions in his mind. He raised his hand and sent out a signal to gather his subordinates. In a dense forest at the bottom of a hill, Kirin, with a head full of green grass, raised his head and looked at Ji Yunhuang's eagle flying past. He then turned his head to look at Ning Xuema, who was also wearing a green grass robe and had a head full of green twigs. Master, is he looking for you? Could it be that this bastard wants to beat you a few more times to avenge his shrew sister? Ning Xuema gently spat out the grass in her mouth and answered casually, "Don't worry about him. We will go our own way later." Kirin shook the camouflage on his body and sincerely admired it. Master was a smart master. She said that there would be people following her, so after escaping she immediately made camouflage for herself and Kirin. She put the grass and twigs on her body and actually made it look like a bundle of grass. No matter where she squatted, she blended in with the surrounding grass. Several groups of people had already gone over, but no one had discovered her whereabouts. Master, from whom did you learn this disguise technique? Ning Xuema faintly smiled but did not speak. This was the Special Forces jungle camouflage technique. It had been scientifically verified and was naturally very advanced. Those who were searching for her would not be able to find her, nor would they be able to find her. Apparently, those people did not expect her to be in disguise. They were too busy searching for her in white and the blue Kirin to notice the green grass. Ning Xuema took another light breath. She had already taken a pill to treat her internal injuries, but the blood in her chest was still surging violently. It was obvious that her internal injuries were not light. She lowered her eyes. She had overestimated her own strength and underestimated the strength of Ji Yunhuang's palm. He probably didn't show any mercy when he attacked just now. This was good too. She had paid off all her debts to him. She let Kirin be her protector while she sat in the grass and meditated for a while. Initially, she wanted to use her internal energy to heal her injuries, but she suddenly remembered the breathing method that Jiuzun had taught her. Now that she had a little bit of psychokinesis in her body, perhaps she could try using this method to heal her injuries. She immediately put it into action, her psychokinesis circulating within her body. After a while, she only felt a warm itch around her injuries, and the pain gradually subsided. It really worked. Chapter 294. Ning Xuema's spirit was shaken. She began to use her psychokinesis to soothe her injuries. After half an hour, she opened her eyes once again and sensed the condition of her injuries. The originally unbearable pain was unexpectedly gone. She was still worried. Turning around, she undid her robe and looked at her wounds. The bruises that had been swollen below her ribs were now only a faint red patch. She had actually recovered by 90%. Psychokinesis was indeed a magical thing. The Nine Supremes' method of cultivation was indeed superb. She leaped up from the ground. "All right, little apple, we can go down the mountain now. Your wounds have healed?" Kirin blinked its large eyes at her. Her face was smeared with plant juice, so it was a sickly green. It was impossible to see how she looked now. Ning Xuema turned around on the spot, the leaves and branches on her body rustling. "I'm done." She had been in so much pain earlier that she could barely stand up, but now she felt like she could do 2 rounds of punching on the spot. Although the little Qilin couldn't clearly see her complexion, it could tell that her spirit had improved a lot. It was very happy in its heart as it eagerly looked at Ning Xuema. "Master, your meditation method just now was very strange, but the effect was really good. Can you teach me?" "Of course." Kirin was now one with Ning Xuema, so she was naturally willing to teach it. However, when she thought of the method of cultivation, her head hurt again. "Little apple, this cultivation method can only be practiced in human form." Kirin was speechless. It clenched its claws and thought of the 9 Supremes who had made a contract with them. That little bastard, why didn't he let it transform into human form? It stood up dejectedly. "Master, where are we going now?" "Back to the city." Ning Xuema hopped onto its back. She was homesick after drifting outside for so long. In this world, if Ning Xuema claimed to be the second best at evading pursuers, no one would dare to claim that they were the best. Coupled with Kirin's extraordinary speed, they managed to avoid the search teams from all directions and successfully descended the last peak of Heavenly Book Mountain. After climbing over a small hill, they would be able to see the official road that led to the capital. "Master, should I transform into another animal before following you into the city?" Kirin raised her head and asked. Ning Xuema was looking at the mountain path, deep in thought. Hearing its words, she was shocked. "Didn't the 9 Supremes seal off your ability to transform?" "He sealed my ability to transform into a human. I can also transform into other animals." In order to prove its words, the little Qilin shook off the camouflage on its body, and with a shake of its body, it transformed. A faint blue light flashed and the little Qilin disappeared. What appeared in its place was a majestic tiger, but its fur was blue. "Master, how is it?" Kirin spun in a circle on the spot, full of himself. Ning Xuema was speechless. She raised her hand to rub her forehead and glared at Kirin. "Little bastard, why didn't you use this transformation earlier?" If she had known that it could transform like this, she would have turned it into a normal animal long ago. How could she have let so many people discover its existence and chase her like a rat crossing the street? You didn't tell me earlier." Kirin felt wronged. Looking at Ning Xuema's dark face, it rubbed its big head against the corner of her clothes cutely. "Master, it's fine if I transform into this, right?" A blue tiger entering the city seemed to be quite eye-catching. Ning Xuema looked at the blue tiger with its big watery eyes and asked tentatively, "How many transformations do you know?" Chapter 295. Apart from humans, I can transform into any living animal. "All right then, you can make a horse out of it first." The little Qilin frowned. "I feel that transforming into a horse will lower my style." "What style does a Kirin have?" Ning Xuema immediately said, "Little apple, we have to enter the city quietly. You have to transform into a horse." "All right," the little Qilin compromised. With a shake of its body, it indeed transformed into a horse. However, the fur on its body was still blue. It was a blue horse. Why did it look like a freak? Ning Xuema asked it to change its color again. This time it was obviously difficult for Kirin. It shook its head and said that no matter what color it changed into, it would not change. After another round of haggling, the little Qilin finally turned into a blue cat with grievance. Ning Xuema carried the blue cat down the mountain. At a hunter's house, she asked for a hunter's daughter's clothes and then went to the main road. After all, this place was remote and there should not be many people on the main road. When Ning Xuema escaped and was brought here by the sixth king, there were very few people on the main road. However, this time, Ning Xuema immediately felt that something was wrong when she walked on the main road. There were still not many people on the main road, but there were many people from various sections. These people were in a hurry and looked around with sharp eyes. It was obvious that they were looking for someone. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that these people had not given up on her and still wanted to catch her. She carried the blue cat in her arms and walked freely on the streets. She was dressed like a hunter, and her small face was also dark. She looked like a typical mountain dweller. It was very normal for a mountain dweller to walk on this road, so the people from the sects that she passed by did not pay attention to her. She was relieved. If she was caught now, no matter which sect she fell into, she might not be able to get any benefits. They just wanted to use her as a breeder for the Kirin beast. And it was a long-term job. Once her 10-year blood contract with Kirin expired, it was hard to predict what would happen to her. These sects were still rather fearful of the imperial family. She would only be safer if she entered the city. She would first return to the Marquis's mansion to recuperate for a while. She would look at the situation before making any other plans. She carried Kirin and walked forward, her footsteps as vigorous as those of a normal hunter's daughter. It was very different from her usual walking style. Naturally, he would not reveal his identity. But for some reason, even though she didn't see anyone paying attention to her, she had a vague feeling that someone was following her. However, no matter how quietly she searched, she couldn't find anyone suspicious. This was the first time that Ning Xuema had encountered such a situation. She tried to sense it again. This time, the feeling of being followed was gone. Was he being paranoid? Or was there something wrong with his intuition? Ning Xuema shook her head inwardly and continued to walk forward. She quickened her pace. As her figure gradually disappeared at the end of the road, a man in red appeared among the dense leaves of a big tree beside the road. It was the evildoer in red who had been released from the crystal coffin by Ning Xuema. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Ning Xuema's back. He raised his hand and touched his chin. The little girl was very alert. She could actually sense that he was following her. Interesting. His tracking skill was the best in the 3 realms. No one had ever found out about it. He didn't expect that the little girl could sense it today. Chapter 296. Although his power had regressed, he was still surprised that a little human being could sense his aura. This little girl was always out of his expectations. It would be good if he could kidnap this little girl and make her his servant. Big monster. Senior, it's that red-clothed big monster. A young man on the road suddenly shouted while pointing at the tree. The young man who was traveling with him raised his head and saw the red-clothed man's bright smile on the tree. His expression changed and he pulled at his junior brother who had recklessly shouted, "Let's go quickly." The two of them got up and were about to run for their lives. Just as they got up, a golden light suddenly flashed in front of their eyes. The two of them screamed at the same time and covered their eyes. Blood flowed out from the gaps between their fingers. "You guys are really annoying." A voice as gentle as the spring breeze rang in their ears, "Cripple a pair of eyes." The voice was gentle, but the move was not gentle at all. It was extremely sinister. The two of them rolled on the ground with golden needles in their eyes. They were in so much pain that they did not notice when the red-clothed man left. Ning Xuema smoothly entered the city. When she entered the city again and saw the bustling crowd on the street, she felt like she had been reborn. It felt good to be able to return to the crowd. She could finally go back and have a good night's sleep. She strolled back to the vicinity of her Marquis Jingyuan's residence and keenly discovered that there were many secret agents moving around. She frowned slightly. Jianyao, that little shrew. She revealed her identity in front of so many people on Tianshu Mountain. These people could not find her in the mountain, so they came to the vicinity of her residence to try their luck. It seemed that her troubles would not be solved in a short time. This time it was a little tricky. She was tired and hungry, so she decided to return to her residence and rest for a few days. Of course, for safety, she could not reveal her identity. She and old Zhong had a special way of contacting each other, so she quickly called him over. After old Zhong saw the little master, he cried bitterly. Then he secretly brought Ning Xuema, who had disguised herself, back to the Marquis Jingyuan's residence. However, the people outside were still unaware. Ning Xuemo rested in the mansion for 2 full days before she was able to completely recover her strength. From old Zhong's mouth, she knew that the people outside had already turned the sky upside down in search of her. Vast Sky Empire's capital had many experts from various sections. These people were not the only ones who were looking for her. Even the officials knew that she had obtained the Kirin and sent many elites to the Tianshu Mountains to search for her. Right now, she had become the target of all the sects, clans, and powers. Although their motives were not pure, she did not have absolute strength. No matter which side she fell into, she would not have a good ending. The tree may want to be quiet, but the wind will not stop. Now that things had developed to this point, it really gave her a headache. Perhaps she should change her name and live somewhere else? Ning Xuema began to consider this possibility. On a summer night, the air was still a little hot. In the quiet room, Ning Xuema had finished cultivating once again. She was drenched in sweat and greasy. It was strange. She bathed every day, but ever since she cultivated her psychokinesis according to the method taught by Juzun, there would always be some light gray sticky stuff on her body. It looked like mud and grease seeping out from all the pores on her body. It made her feel disgusted when she saw it. She opened her eyes and suddenly froze. Chapter 297. On the praying mat opposite her, there was a person sitting leisurely. His red clothes were like fire, and he was as gentle as a poem. He supported his chin with one hand, and the other hand was holding the praying mat. When he saw her open her eyes, his light red lips hooked up. He smiled like a gentleman, but the words he said were not gentlemanly at all. "Little girl, are you practicing the smelly toad skill? So smelly. So dirty." The red-clothed evildoer. All the muscles in Ning Xuema's body tensed up. He actually found her here. Speaking of which, this big devil had just escaped. Why didn't he go out to enjoy the beautiful world? Why did he come to find her? To take revenge on her? You and I are even, aren't we? What brings your excellency here? Ning Xuema quietly took 2 steps back. She quietly took a small box from the table in the corner of the room, and then quietly stuffed it into her sleeve. Even? Little girl, you used me to escape and threw 3 troubles to me. You made my hands stained with blood, so I'm a little unhappy. The red-clothed evildoer stood up and opened his 2 palms to look, as if he was a little regretful. Please, I'm your benefactor who saved you. So what if I used you a little? I saved you once and you saved me once, so we're even. No one owes anyone anything. But I like to owe others and I don't like others to owe me. So even is not possible. The red-clothed evildoer's sleeves fluttered as he approached her step by step. Ning Xuema took another step back, trying to pull away from him. Then what do you want? You already swore that you will never do anything to hurt me. Oh, it seems like I did make such an oath. Little girl, your memory is not bad. But I only swore that I will not personally take your life. I did not say that I will not do anything else. He looked at her and smiled. For example, bring in the people who want to get you. There are so many people outside looking for you. I didn't expect a little girl like you to be so popular. If they know that you are hiding in this mansion, TSK, what do you think will happen? Ning Xuema's face slightly changed. What do you want? Be my servant. The red-clothed evildoer laid out his conditions, and even spoke in a tone as if he was bestowing a favor. There aren't many people in this world who are qualified. Little girl, you're lucky. Lucky my ass. Ning Xuemo really wanted to slap him back into the crystal coffin. Opening that crystal coffin was definitely the biggest mistake of her life. It was like opening Pandora's box. And if I don't want to? Well, that's a pity. The red-robed evildoer spread out his hands, then disappeared. Ning Xuema. She thought that he would be entangled with her for a while, maybe even have a fierce battle, but she didn't expect him to give up so easily. How could this red-clothed evildoer be so easy to talk to? She didn't believe it. Ning Xuema circled the quiet room like a whirlwind, searching for traces of the red-clothed evildoer. After a while she finally gave up. That pervert had really left. She couldn't sense his aura at all. She paused for a moment in the quiet room, then walked out in large strides. Since that bastard found this place, he must know all about her. If he really attracted other people, then she would never have a day of peace. So she better take this opportunity to escape far away. The quiet room was built on top of a small lake in the back garden of the Marquis mansion. It was connected to the shore by 9 winding corridors. Chapter 298. This was because Ning Xuema had already instructed that this back garden was a forbidden area. Without her permission, no one in the mansion dared to set foot here. It was very secluded. Her body was greasy and very uncomfortable. These 2 days, every time she finished practicing, she would take a bath in the lake to refresh herself before doing other things. Although the situation was urgent, she still had time to take a bath. She looked around and confirmed that there was no one around. Then she took off her clothes and jumped into the lake. Of course, because she was afraid of the red-clothed evildoer, she did not dare to take off all her clothes. She was still wearing her own underwear. She put the other clothes on the stone platform in the middle of the lake. Then she sank her body into the water and began to wash. The greasy mud looked dirty, but it was not difficult to wash. Almost half of it was soaked in the water. She had just washed 2 times when a shadow flashed in the distance. A blue cat flew over. "I also want to wash. Master, I also want to wash." Kiran. Wasn't it playing with the chastity-testing beast? While Ning Xuema was in a daze, the little Qilin had already jumped into the lake with a splash. It rolled around in the water and revealed its original body. Ayaya. I've been in my cat form for the past 2 days. The lake was not deep. It was less than 2 meters. Kiran was half floating in the water. Only its head was exposed. Its eyes were slightly closed and it looked very comfortable. Kiran was lively and naughty. It liked to run around in the mansion. There was not a moment of peace. In order not to disturb people, Ning Xuema let it move around in its cat body. Only at night, when it was resting, it would return to its original body and rest in her room. When she was practicing, Kiran felt bored and ran out to play with the chastity-testing beast. Originally it would play for less than an hour. This time it ran out for less than a quarter of an hour. How come it came back? However, this was also good. She had to hurry up and take it away. It would save her time to find it. "Why are you back so early today? Did Tom bully you?" Ning Xuema poured a handful of water on Kiran's head. "It doesn't dare. However, it's strange that it's not as afraid of me as other beasts. Its soul aura is also a little strange. Also, I can't understand its beast language." Kiran was puzzled. Ning Xuema snickered. Kiran also spoke Chinese. It understood the animal language, but it might not understand English. Poor Tom. It wasn't easy for him to find a beast that could speak, but he still couldn't communicate with it. "By the way, Master, that fellow actually likes to read books." The words on the book were also quite strange. They looked like tadpoles, but it was reading them with great interest. When I went to play with it, it complained that I was noisy, but it didn't dare to chase me away. That sullen look. "It's practicing and studying." Ning Xuema answered with a few words. He felt somewhat gratified. The books that the chastity-testing beast was reading were all translated by her to it. They were the basic cultivation methods, the same way as the chastity-testing beast. In order to get rid of its beast form as soon as possible, Tom studied very hard. It was to the point that it forgot to eat and sleep. It was just like a bookworm. Not to mention that Kiran went to find it. Even if she went back to the mansion to see it, it would only excitedly express its welcome and then sit in the corner to read the book. Ning Xuema came back this time and brought some herbs that were suitable for it to practice. She also refined some pills to treat the symptoms. After Tom ate it, its cultivation speed became faster. In these 2 days its cultivation speed was very fast. Tom was actually very smart. Ning Xuema also taught it Chinese several times in her free time. Chapter 299. Since Tom had only learned to speak for a short time, it could not understand most of the words spoken by Kiran. Therefore, after the little Qilin happily communicated with it a few times, it straightforwardly gave it a nickname, Tom the Big Parrot. Although Tom's soul was that of a human, its body was that of a beast after all. As a beast, it had a natural fear of Kiran. Therefore, although it had a bad temper, it did not dare to be angry with Kiran. Besides, it did not understand the language, so Tom tried not to argue with Kiran and ignored it. Kiran was very bored, but she often played with Tom for fun. In the 2 days since it came to the mansion, Kiran spent most of its time with Tom. "Little Apple, how did you know that I was taking a bath here?" Ning Xuema felt that something was wrong. "Just now Mr. Zhong came into the Xiaoyao pavilion and told me. He also said that you prepared a delicious base for me. Where is the base?" Kiran looked at her eagerly. Ning Xuema's heart suddenly sank. Mr. Zhong did not know that she was taking a bath here, and he would not let Kiran come in at this time. Of course he would not lie about the base. The image of the red-clothed evildoer flashed in her mind. Needless to say, it was that bastard who did this. Did that bastard disguise himself as Mr. Zhong to trick Kirin? Then what was his purpose in doing this? She suddenly jumped out of the water and reached out to grab her clothes. You were fooled. Let's get out of here. Her fingertips hadn't even hooked onto her clothes when a faint golden light flashed above her head. A large net fell from the sky, covering Ning Xuema and the little Qilin with lightning speed. Ning Xuema reacted quickly. She immediately sank into the water and wanted to take the opportunity to swim away. However, the water in the lake was too shallow. As soon as she sank into the water, the pale golden net covered her and drilled into the water. After a while, the big net was pulled out of the water with a splash. Ning Xuema and Kirin were trapped in the net like two big fish. Got it? Got it? She really came back, and the little Qilin is also here. It was unknown when two men had appeared on the lakeside. They all looked to be in their 30s and their clothes were extremely ordinary. However, their eyes were as sharp as an eagle's, and their actions had the dignity of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. They looked at Ning Xuema and Kirin in the net, and their eyes flashed with surprise. One of them raised his sleeve, and the big net that trapped Ning Xuema and Kirin flew towards him. Bang! Ning Xuema and Kirin crashed into him along with the net. That person was knocked back a step. He was still a little puzzled. The strength of his net was not so strong. How could there be such a strong impact? He subconsciously pushed the net away and took another step back. Suddenly, he realized that there was something in his hand. He lowered his head to take a look. In his hand was a small brownish-red ball. What is this? Qilin's inner core? He raised his hand to his eyes and wanted to take a closer look. Suddenly, he heard his junior brother not far away shouting, "Senior brother, throw it away." Before he could finish his sentence, he heard a loud bang. It sounded like a firecracker had exploded. That person's hand shook, and a cloud of smoke spread out in front of him. Countless fine needles shot out from the smoke. The distance was too close and that person had no time to dodge. He groaned and was shot by several fine needles. Those fine needles were obviously coated with poison. After being shot, that person's body swayed and his face twisted. It's itchy. It's so itchy. He reached out and scratched his body. After a few scratches, he suddenly screamed and fell to the ground. Chapter 300. The other person was shocked. He didn't care about Ning Xuema and Kirin who were still trapped in the net. He jumped over and said, "Senior." He reached out his hand to help him. It's itchy. It's itchy. In the blink of an eye, the person who was hit by the needle felt itchy all over his body. He had scratched his whole body. When he saw his junior coming over to help him, he couldn't help but scratch his junior again. It's so itchy. He tried to stay awake and said, "Junior, quick, ask the girl for the antidote." The junior finally came back to his senses. He immediately looked at the big net and his body stiffened. The girl and Kirin who were trapped in the net had already escaped. Only the light golden net was left on the ground. How could it be? His senior brother's net was a mechanism magic tool. Not only was it incomparably tough, no sharp weapon could cut through it, but there was also a mechanism at the mouth of the net that could only be broken by his senior brother. Once he was caught in the net, he could forget about escaping by himself. But this girl actually cracked the mechanism in such a short time and escaped. How did she do it? Kirin stood in the same place and looked at them angrily. All the scales on his body were standing up. The girl flew up and landed on the big rock in the middle of the lake. Her clothes were still on the big rock. She had to put on her clothes first. Just as her hand was about to touch her dress, a hand suddenly appeared out of thin air and snatched the dress away from her. Then it disappeared. Ning Xuema was a step too late and missed her dress by a hair's breadth. Pervert in red. Get your ass out here for big sister. Ning Xuema was furious. Although she only caught a glimpse of that hand, there weren't many hands that were so delicate in this world. Moreover, she saw the bright red sleeves of that person. Among the people she knew who liked to wear such flashy red clothes and had such a perverted personality, there was no one else other than that evildoer in red. Little girl, take out the antidote. That junior martial brother couldn't hold himself back any longer. He shouted at the young girl standing on the big rock. There was a faint red light in his palm that was about to be spat out. Ning Xuemo raised her head and glanced at that person. She crossed her arms and spoke without any trace of politeness. Trespassing into someone else's mansion, plotting against the owner of the mansion, and you still want the antidote? Are you still dreaming? That junior martial brother was furious. Little girl, you've got guts. Do you know who we are? If you know what's good for you, hurry up and send the antidote over. Otherwise, I'll let you have a taste of the Li heart fire. Fire of the heart? Centrifugal force. Ning Xuema sneered. Her gaze fell on the back of the junior brother's hand, and the corner of her lips curled up again. 1, 2, 3. The junior brother didn't understand why she suddenly started counting. Seeing that his senior brother was already delirious from the itch, he anxiously attacked. With a wave of his hand, 5 fireballs flew towards Ning Xuema. He wanted to knock her unconscious and subdue her first. Unexpectedly, just as his 5 fireballs flew halfway, Kirin opened its mouth and spat out a water arrow, meeting the fireballs head-on. Water countered fire, and the fireballs vanished into thin air. That junior martial brother was stunned. He had forgotten that this Kirin was a water Kirin. 8, 9, 10. Ning Xuema crossed her arms in front of her chest and counted to 10. That junior martial brother was impatient from her counting. Just as he wanted to change his move, he suddenly felt an unbearable itch on the back of his hand. Once that itch happened, it instantly spread throughout his entire body. In a split second, the itch almost reached his heart. It was so itchy that he wanted to scream. Chapter 301. It was so itchy that he wanted to scream out loud. He forced himself to stand upright and shouted out, "We are the protectors of the limitless sect. You can't hurt us." After shouting out this sentence, he couldn't stand anymore and fell to the ground. Just like his senior brother, he rolled his body on the stone ground. Ning Xuema slowly walked over and looked down at the 2 people who were rolling on the ground. The protectors of the limitless sect, their position wasn't low. Moreover, the limitless sect wasn't considered a righteous sect. Their methods were more sinister, and they were a sect that would do anything to achieve their goals. Once someone offended this sect, they would be hunted down by the entire sect. Since Ning Xuema planned to stay in this continent, she naturally understood the matters of the various sections. She didn't like to kill people, but sometimes she had to kill. She slowly walked towards the 2 people and her eyes turned cold. "You 2 can go on your way." With a flick of her finger, 2 poison needles shot out and pierced into the hearts of the 2 people. The 2 people finally stopped itching, but their eyes instantly widened as they stared at the little girl. Their mouths were gurgling as if they didn't believe that she would be so ruthless. "You 2 originally had bad intentions towards me, so it's natural for you to die in my hands." Ning Xuema looked down at them coldly as they breathed their last breaths. "Such a vicious girl. But I like it." Someone in the air clapped twice as if he was cheering for her. A red figure appeared on top of a large stone. They seemed to be from some sect and they looked quite strong. "You killed the 2 of them, aren't you afraid of being hunted down by their sect?" "I'm not afraid," Ning Xuema calmly replied. She had completely offended these 2 people. Once she gave them the antidote, they would definitely not let her go. She didn't know what kind of suffering they would give her. So, these 2 people must be killed. While they were talking, the bodies of the 2 people on the ground actually curled up again. There was juice bubbling on their bodies and the smell of burnt flesh came out. The 2 people's bodies were melting and disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The red-clothed man narrowed his eyes. "Little girl, your ability to destroy corpses is not small. Aren't you going to ask who sent them?" Ning Xuema glanced at him. "Do you even need to ask? Other than you, who else would tell them my whereabouts? You want to threaten me when they catch me? Threatening me to become your servant? In your dreams?" The little girl was so smart. He actually guessed it correctly. The man in red looked at her with admiration. "Little Xuema, you are very smart. I suddenly feel that it's a waste of your talent to be a servant." Of course it was a waste of talent. It was more appropriate for her to be his master. This bastard actually knew her name. It seemed like he had already investigated her behind her back. Ning Xuema stretched out a hand and said, "Give me back my clothes." Her clothes were still in his arms. The red-clothed man smiled faintly, his eyes gleaming as he looked her up and down several times. Suddenly, he said in an incomparably serious manner, "Little Xuema, I've discovered that you've actually grown taller again. Oh, your figure seems to be starting to look good as well. Also, your little outfit is very interesting. You're dressed like this, standing in front of a big man like me. Why don't you know how to be shy?" Ning Xuema sneered, "Thank you for the compliment. I'm already good-looking, there's no need for you to say it. As the saying goes, don't look at indecent things. You stole my clothes like a thief and you still have the face to say that I'm dressed like this?" Chapter 302. Ning Xuema found it strange as well. Ever since she started cultivating the martial arts that Jiuzun had taught her, not only was she oozing greasy mud every time, she was also growing taller. Her originally flat body was also starting to develop. Every time she cultivated, it was like she had been reborn. In just 2 days she had grown 5 to 6 centimeters taller, and her figure was starting to become curvaceous. In addition, she was only wearing her self-made underwear, which was equivalent to a modern bikini, revealing her fair arms and legs. It made her body look even more curvaceous, and she had the charm of a young girl. Ning Xuema's original body had been malnourished for a long time, and her body had not developed well. She still looked like a 10-year-old child at the age of 13. Now, after a few days of cultivation, her figure was already that of a normal 13-year-old girl. Not only had she grown taller, her skin was also much fairer than before. She was originally a beauty in the making, and after developing she finally became a beauty. When her eyes turned to the side, there was a natural charm to them. In addition, her appearance was sweet and pure, and her every frown and smile radiated brilliance, making it hard for people to shift their eyes away from her. Her feet were now bare. Her feet were white and soft as if they were carved from jade. Her toenails were pink and glossy, shining like pearls under the starlight. The man in red looked at her feet, his gaze deeper. This girl's face might not be the prettiest, but her feet were beautiful. They were like crystals. He looked at her pair of tiny feet and actually felt something. The little Qilin had been paying attention to Ning Xuema's expression. When it saw Ning Xuema's expression, it immediately took a step forward and stood in front of Ning Xuema, blocking most of her body. Naturally, it also covered her little feet. It angrily said, "You big pervert, what are you looking at?" The man in red's gaze turned to Ning Xuema's face. "Shuilan." Ning Xuema raised her eyebrows. "What?" "My name." The man in red's eyes were as deep as water, and there was a smile at the corner of his lips. "Remember it?" Ning Xuema turned to leave. "I'm not interested in your name." She only hoped that he would go far away and not provoke her again. There was a flash of red in front of her eyes. Shuilan stood in front of her. "Wait." Ning Xuema took a step back and looked at him warily. "What are you doing?" Shuilan opened her dress and handed it to her. "Come, put on your clothes. Although you look good like this, it's enough that I'm the only one who can see it. As for the others..." He glanced at Kirin with hostility. "If anyone else sees you like this, I'll gouge their eyes out." His last sentence was too sinister. The little Qilin quivered and shivered. It angrily glared at him. "Who are you? Why should I only show it to you?" "She's my master, not yours. I've decided that I don't want her to be my servant. She can be my concubine." Concubine knows husband's name, and only husband can see concubine's body. Shuilan made an earth-shattering announcement. Kirin was speechless. "Are you having a fever?" Ning Xuema was also shocked. She picked up her clothes and took a few steps back. Ignoring his crazy words, she quickly put them on. Shuilan looked at her with a smile. "If you don't object, then I'll take it as a yes." "Yes, my ass." Ning Xuema refuted him. "I'm not interested in you. Even if you want to marry me as your wife, I won't agree, let alone being a concubine. The outside world is beautiful. It's not easy for you to come out. You should go out and walk around. Don't look for me again." She turned around and left. Chapter 303. She had just taken a few steps when her waist suddenly tightened. She didn't even have time to scream before her body was lifted up into the air. A voice chuckled beside her ear, "The outside world is really not bad. Accompany me for a stroll." Ning Xuema's expression changed. Her body was tightly held in Shuilan's embrace, and she couldn't move for a moment. The wind whistled past her ears and the scenery in front of her quickly flashed by. Kirin shouted, "Let go of my master." "Where are you taking her?" I wanted to chase after him. "Little colt, if you're not afraid of being caught, then chase after me." Shuilan chuckled, and his laughter dissipated in the wind. Kirin was startled. It immediately rolled on the ground and turned into a blue cat. When it jumped up again, the red-clothed evildoer had already disappeared without a trace with its little master. It pressed its little paws on the ground. "Trying to get rid of it? That won't be so easy." Its body shot up into the treetops like lightning, and it flew all the way, chasing after them. "Where are you taking me?" Ning Xuema struggled in his embrace. This guy's qigong was actually so good. It was practically no different from flying. Wherever he went, it was like a flash of a shadow. There were obviously spies from various sects wandering around outside her residence, but not a single one of them discovered their whereabouts. I'm taking you to see the outside world. What's the point of being cooped up in the residence all day? Shui Yilan didn't loosen his grip on her arm. Hey, you're hurting me. Ning Xuema struggled again. This scoundrel also wrapped her arms around his, making it hard for her to breathe. Be good. Endure it for now. Shui Yilan didn't have any intention of letting go, and flew even faster. Red-clothed evildoer, you swore you wouldn't hurt me. Ning Xuema was angry. I didn't hurt you. Call me by my name. If you call me by my name, I might loosen up a little. Shui Yilan laughed gently. Ning Xuema secretly gritted her teeth. She took a deep breath and finally couldn't do anything to him. Shui Yilan, this should be fine, right? Loosen up a little, I'm about to throw up from your strangling. That's more like it. It's just that when you say my name it's a little stiff. It's not very comfortable to listen to. Why don't you call me? He seemed to suddenly have an epiphany. You can call me Lan Shan. In the waning night, my blood-red clothes are like fire. Ning Xuema shuddered. Lan Shan? Isn't this name a little feminine? There were even poems and allusions? Not bad, that's good. Shui Yilan was obviously very satisfied, and his arms loosened a little. Ning Xuema secretly clenched her teeth. This sister is going to beat you into a pulp. She smiled and looked at him. You won't do anything bad to me, right? I'll take good care of you. Shui Yilan lowered his head and kissed her forehead. I think we're quite compatible. Match your head. Ning Xuema smiled again. Your Excellency must be joking. You've lived for at least a few thousand years and I'm only 13 years old. It's said that 5 years is a generation gap. You and I are so different and the generation gap between us is like the Mariana Trench. It's definitely insurmountable. I think it's better for your Excellency to find someone similar to you. While she was talking nonsense with him, one of her hands was secretly moving behind his back. She lowered her hand slightly, and a blue steel needle appeared at the tip of her finger. She was about to pierce one of his major acupoints on his back when her wrist suddenly tightened. Shui Yilan seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. A strand of black hair wrapped around Ning Xuema's wrist like a snake and pulled it to the front. Chapter 304. Tiske little Xuema, you're really hiding a dagger in your smile. This poison needle is the kind you used to make those two people disappear, right? Tiske, I'm your future husband. People say that a woman's heart is the most poisonous. This saying is indeed true. Shui Yilan shook his head and sighed. At the same time he raised his hand and took the poison needle from Ning Xuema's hand. He pointed the tip of the needle at Ning Xuema's fingertip. Xuema, did you bring the antidote for this needle? What do you think will happen if I stab you with it? Ning Xuema's expression changed slightly. She glared at him with hatred. Why don't you try it? If I die you'll have fulfilled your oath. Then you'll be locked in that crystal coffin for 10,000 years. Shui Yilan sighed. I'm not afraid of fulfilling my oath. We're monsters so we don't believe in gods. That oath can't bind me. He really doesn't believe in gods. Damn it, I was fooled by him back then. You believe in the demon ancestor? Ning Xuema asked tentatively. What do you think? Shui Yilan blinked his eyes. If you don't want to say it, then forget it. Ning Xuema closed her eyes. When you marry me I'll tell you everything. Shui Yilan's tone was gentle. He lowered his head and kissed her forehead again. But you're too naughty. I have to teach you a little lesson. Before Ning Xuema could understand what he meant, his arms suddenly loosened. Ning Xuema couldn't help but fall downwards. A vast expanse of white water rushed towards her. At this moment, Ning Xuema was able to recognize where this water body was. Netherworld Lake. It was the only big lake in Chongkong Country's capital, Jialan City. There were countless man-eating aquatic beasts in the lake. The Netherworld Lake that made everyone shrink back in fear. At that time, the fake Huidao was lured into this lake and eaten by the monsters. She didn't expect that this bastard evildoer who kept saying that he wanted to marry her would actually throw her in here. The monster at the bottom of the lake seemed to have smelled something. It popped its head out of the water and looked at Ning Xuema who was descending from the sky. It bared its sharp teeth. Ning Xuema couldn't help but fall towards the mouth of a monster. Her expression changed. At this time she could only save herself. Fortunately, she had refined a lot of poisonous needles recently. She waved her hand and shot a poisonous needle at the mouth. When the poison needle entered the monster's mouth, the monster quivered and closed its mouth. At the same time, Ning Xuema's body landed next to the monster's mouth. Her hand was about to enter the monster's closed mouth. Ning Xuemo really couldn't dodge, so she could only close her eyes and wait for her arm to be cut off. Damn it, the small lesson he was talking about was to cripple her. This pervert. At this critical moment, her ankle suddenly tightened. Then she was pulled by a strong force. She was lifted upside down and flew into the air again. Little Xuema, how does it feel? Shui Yilan's laughter was like a cool breeze. It was indescribably pleasant. Ning Xuema's little face was pale. Her whole body was trembling slightly. Suddenly she cried out, what do you want? You can just kill me. Woo. Shui Yilan was stunned. He had never seen her cry before. He held her ankle and inevitably saw her exquisite snow-white feet. His throat moved slightly. How can I bear to kill you? You should stay by my side obediently in the future. As he spoke, he flipped her over. Ning Xuema turned in the air and finally, her head was facing up. Shui Yilan reached out and wanted to hold her waist. Suddenly, a golden light flashed in front of him. A big net was coming toward him at lightning speed. Chapter 305. By the time he reacted, he had already been trapped in a pale golden net. Bastard, go and die. Ning Xuema took the opportunity to step on his body and used the momentum to fly to the shore. Shui Yilan fell directly into the lake with the net wrapped around him. Ning Xuema's feet landed on the shore and her heart calmed down. She pulled the light golden rope on the other end of the net and looked towards the lake. The place where the net fell was like a boiling pot. Countless beasts popped their heads out and then sank back down. Blood flowed out and dyed that small part of the lake red. Ning Xuema's heart was beating fast. She looked at the body of water and smirked proudly. This bastard, he actually schemed against her. Now that he was the one being schemed against, he deserved it. Ning Xuema was an expert in mechanisms. The net used by the two elders of the Limitless sect to plot against her in the Marquis estate was a mechanism net. At that time she had easily broken it. After killing those two people, she had also quietly put away the net. Now, it was just the right time to use it on this red-clothed pervert. This net was made of a very special material. It was not afraid of knives, axes, fire or water. Unless the mechanism on the net was broken, the person trapped inside would not be able to escape. The moment Ning Xuema used the net to trap Shui Yilan, the mechanism on the net was completely locked. Unless she pulled the net onto the shore or loosened the rope in her hand, there would be a chance to break the mechanism. Now, that fellow could only be trapped in the net. The holes in the net were very fine. Even if Shui Yilan knew the bone-shrinking technique, he would not be able to squeeze out. Many of the beasts in the lake had long and sharp mouths. They could reach into the holes in the net to peck at him. Shui Yilan, this time I will make you a bloody tattered person. She stood on the shore and watched as the boiling water gradually calmed down. A few beast corpses floated on the surface of the lake. The corpses were dark purple. It was obvious that they were poisoned. Ning Xuema let out a sigh of relief. After a while she slowly pulled the net back. She pulled it back very carefully. Shui Yilan was too cunning. She had to be careful. She could feel that the net was much lighter. It must be that the pervert's flesh and blood had been eaten, leaving only his bones in the net. Master. A little blue cat flew over like lightning and plunged into her arms. It looked at her with a pair of bright eyes. Master, are you okay? Where is that bastard? Ning Xuemo used one hand to reel in the net while the other hand rubbed the little blue cat's head. He's in the net and fell into the water. The little blue cat was naturally Kirin. It had experienced the power of the net and knew that it could not be opened with brute force. It was slightly relieved. It looked into the water and suddenly sniffed. There is a beast in the water. That's right. It's also a very savage monster. When it sees flesh and blood, it swallows them whole. Not even the bones are left behind. While speaking, Ning Xuema had already pulled the net to the shore. When she lowered her head to look, she was stunned. There was nothing in the light golden net. There were only a few pieces of dark red blood stains. There was not even a bone left. It couldn't be, right? That person was a big monster. How could he die like that? Even his bones were dragged out and swallowed by the beast? Although this net could only be entered and not exited, and she added poison to the net for insurance. The poison she applied was enough to kill a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Chapter 306. Although this net could only be entered and not exited, she had added something to the net just to be safe. The poison she applied was enough to kill a Tyrannosaurus rex. But seeing him disappear without a trace, Ning Xuema still felt that it was too easy. It was unreal. However, looking at the floating corpses of the beasts, she felt that she had succeeded. The poison she applied was very strange. Once a person was poisoned to death, if the beasts ate his corpse, they would also die from the poison. However, these beast corpses would not die from the poison. It seemed that these beasts had eaten his corpse. Otherwise he would not have died. Kirin circled around the net and sniffed the bloodstains. She was a little puzzled. This blood has a fishy smell. It smells like the beasts in the lake. It doesn't smell like that person's. Ning Xuema's heart sank. Could it be that person did not die? That's impossible, right? If he had successfully escaped, wouldn't he have immediately appeared to take revenge on her? How could he have escaped so quietly? She looked at the net in her hand. Her eyelashes drooped slightly. With a shake of her hand, she threw the net back into the lake. With a splash, the limitless sex treasure sank to the bottom of the lake and could no longer be seen. She clapped her hands and picked up the little blue cat. "Little apple, let's go." Just as she turned around, her feet paused. Not far behind her stood a man dressed in white. His figure was tall and straight like a jade tree. His appearance was incomparably handsome, but his expression was a little haggard. At this moment, his eyes were focused on Ning Xuema. "Xuema." Ning Xuema's lips curled up slightly. She raised her sleeves and saluted. Her tone was indifferent and distant. "Your Highness." That person was Ji Yunhuang. Ning Xuema's politeness clearly made him uncomfortable. He paused and took a step forward. "Xuema, it's good that you're fine. I'll look for you in the next 2 days." Ning Xuema cupped his hands again. "Thank you for your concern, Your Highness. I'm fine. If there's nothing else I'll—" Before she could say goodbye, Ji Yunhuang interrupted her. "I have something to discuss with you. Why don't we find a place to sit?" "What's the matter?" Ning Xuema didn't want to move. A trace of pain flashed through Ji Yunhuang's eyes, but he still smiled faintly. "It's a very important matter, so it won't take up too much of your time. Don't tell me you won't even give me this much face?" After all, Ning Xuema was still living in this country. She didn't want to offend him too much. She smiled faintly. "Your Highness is too polite. Your Highness, please." His attitude was polite and distant. Ji Yunhuang's fingers tightened as he forced a smile. "All right, let's go." After Ning Xuema and Ji Yunhuang left, the netherworld lake returned to its usual tranquility. There were many ferocious beasts in this place. Usually very few people would come here. That was why when Ning Xuema and Shui Yilan created such a big commotion here, no one came to watch. The grass on the shore was luxuriant, and the lake rippled gently. After a moment, the center of the lake suddenly surged up like a fountain. On top of the water, a person slowly rose. He was wearing red clothes and had black hair. He looked gentle and elegant like jade. It was Shui Yilan, who Ning Xuema thought had been eaten by the monsters. He floated in the center of the lake. The nearby aquatic monsters surrounded him from afar. Each and every one of them arched their bodies as if they were worshipping him. Shui Yilan looked at Ning Xuema and Ji Yunhuang walking side by side. His dark eyes slightly narrowed. What a ruthless and straightforward little girl. Chapter 307. What a ruthless and straightforward young lady. She was as cunning as a little loach. When he was not paying attention, he was plotted against by her again. However, he liked it. Only a young lady like her was worthy of him. Only a young lady like her was worthy of staying by his side. The image of her delicate little feet flashed across his mind, and he swallowed slightly. Perhaps it was unfair for her to stay by his side as a concubine. When he caught her again, he would tell her that he could raise her status to become a concubine. The place that Ji Yunhuang chose to sit was a tea house. Ning Xuema had visited this tea house a few days ago. She had even met the 6th prince, Ji Yunhao, and Hu Daichang. Because of a teapot, they had gotten into an argument. Ning Xuema plotted against Hu Daichang and received 3 lashes from Ji Yunhao. In the end, she was rescued by the crown prince, Ji Yunhuang. Although it had happened more than 20 days ago, Ning Xuema felt like it was a lifetime ago when she revisited this place. Too many things had happened in the past 20 days. No matter if it was people or her mood, they had all changed. Hu Daichang was dead, and the 6th prince was demoted. As for her, she did not know how many times she had been on the brink of death, but she was still strong enough to live in this world. However, her situation was still not good. The old emperor's engagement had not been annulled. Because of the Kirin incident, many sects and forces were secretly eyeing her covetously. Ning Xuema noticed that the most famous and elegant tea house in the city was cleaner and quieter than the last time she had been here. Originally, the upper and lower floors of this tea house were very clean, but this time it was especially clean. It was as if everything had been wiped with alcohol. If she used a magnifying glass to look at it, she was afraid that she would not be able to find a single speck of dust. Even the waiter of the tea house was wearing new clothes. His face was clean and his walking speed was light and fast. There were many people drinking tea downstairs, but all of them were holding their breaths and sitting upright. Everyone's face was filled with excitement, but they forcefully suppressed it and pretended to be calm. Even if they were talking, their voices were low, as if they were afraid of disturbing something. Their eyes swept upstairs from time to time. What was upstairs? What's wrong with these people? Ning Xuema looked at Ji Yunhuang with a questioning gaze. Ji Yunhuang slightly furrowed his brows. It was obvious that he did not know the inside story. He looked at the waiter who was leading the way. The shop assistant was quick-witted. He immediately bowed and said, "Your Highness, Master Han Shanyue is upstairs painting." His voice was low, and when he said the three words Han Shanyue, it was especially low and respectful. Ning Xuemo raised her eyebrows. Not only did she know the name of this Han Shanyue, it was like thunder in her ears. The three words Han Shanyue represented the the most famous painting saint on the continent, the most famous fortune teller on the continent. He was the most mysterious expert on the continent. Experts all had weird tempers. Even if some people were not experts, they would still develop weird tempers in order to pretend to be experts, let alone real experts. This Han Shanyue was one of the best and was the most outstanding among the freaks. He was so cool and clean that everything he used could not have a single flaw. Wherever he went, he had to use clean water to clean it, and the people who served him had to burn incense and bathe. He did not paint casually, but every painting he made was a priceless treasure. His fortune-telling was accurate, but he did it based on his preferences. If he did not want to tell the fortune of the current emperor, he would not buy it. He also had unfathomable kung fu. Chapter 308. The reason why he was said to be mysterious was not because he was the best in martial arts and was unrivaled in the world, but because he was indifferent and would not easily fight with others. Once he fought, he had never lost. Since he was the art saint, he naturally did not lack money. Moreover, he did not keep a low profile in the way he dressed. Any random accessory on his body was worth tens of thousands of gold. Some items were even worth hundreds of thousands of gold. No matter where he went, he was like a moving treasure trove. This kind of person naturally attracted the attention of people from all walks of the martial arts world. There were countless people who wanted to plot against him to make a fortune. But it was strange. This Han Shanyue was obviously just one person. No matter how many people those gangs sent to kill him, they were all like meat buns thrown to a dog, never to return. No one had ever seen him in action. Those who had seen him were no longer living in this world. His whereabouts were uncertain. On this continent, he had been seen in all 5 countries. No one knew where he lived. It was as if he suddenly appeared when he was supposed to. And when he left, there was no sign of him at all. As he walked, he disappeared. There were once busybodies who followed him, but they could not find him halfway. Some said that he disappeared into thin air, while others said that he rode the clouds and left. In short, the rumors were very mysterious. This also made him even more mysterious. Ning Xuema did not expect that she would meet this great god in a trip to the tea house today. Her heart was filled with curiosity. So when Ji Yunhuang found out that the upper floors of this tea house were all booked by Mr. Han Shanyue, and that they could only drink tea downstairs, he suggested that they go to another tea house, but was rejected by her. She picked a seat that faced the stairs and sat down. She smiled and said, "Your Highness, let's talk here." She waved her hand and asked the waiter to bring 2 pots of good tea. Ji Yunhuang looked at her with a complicated expression. The things he wanted to talk to her about needed to be discussed in a quiet room, and not in this hall where there were other customers. But now he did not want to go against her wishes. This time she was obviously much colder to him. If she was angry and ignored him, he would have the confidence to coax her. But she was neither cold nor warm to him and was very polite. It made him feel a kind of fear that he would never be able to get her back. When His Highness the Crown Prince came, the waiters in the tea house naturally didn't dare to be negligent. The tea was the best tea, the pot was the best pot, and the snacks were also the best snacks. Ning Xuema glanced at the small red clay pot. She naturally recognized this pot. It was the same model she used last time. It should be a new one. It seemed like this crown prince wanted to evoke her nostalgia and make her forget the unhappy past. The crown prince was quite attentive. Unfortunately, Ji Yun Huang seemed to be an expert in brewing kung fu tea. He personally brewed the tea and his movements were smooth and fluid. His every movement was filled with the free and easy demeanor of a noble, which was very pleasing to the eyes. Ji Yun Huang, the crown prince, did not keep a low profile, so the citizens of the capital were not unfamiliar with him. This was especially true for the customers of the tea house. Most of them were officials and nobles, so they were naturally more familiar with him. When Ji Yun Huang came in with Ning Xuema, there were many people who stood up to greet him, but Ji Yun Huang dealt with them with a few words. These people knew that the crown prince did not want to be disturbed, so they did not dare to come close to him. But they still paid attention to the table. Chapter 309. These people diverted part of their attention to pay attention to the movements of this table. Seeing that Ji Yun Huang was personally brewing tea for the girl in front of him, they all widened their eyes in surprise. They secretly sized up Ning Xuema, trying to guess her identity. Since they noticed her, they naturally noticed the blue cat with glossy fur lying on her lap. The cat's 2 hind legs were standing on her lap, and its 2 front paws were holding a piece of tea. It was eating it in small bites, and it was eating very delicately and elegantly. It squinted its eyes slightly, obviously enjoying the food. Its expression was too rich, attracting the attention of half of the people in the tea house. There were some young girls drinking tea in the tea house, and their eyes would occasionally look at the blue cat, wishing that they could hug it and touch it. Xuema, try my culinary skills. Ji Yun Huang handed over a cup of tea. Ning Xuema did not decline. She took the cup and took a sip. Your Highness, tea brewing skills are brilliant. The blue cat immediately raised its head and said, Master, I want to drink too. Heavens, this cat can talk. Its voice was very pleasant to hear, much better than the parrot's. Everyone's gazes became even brighter. Under everyone's gaze, Ning Xuema casually placed the teacup in front of the blue cat. The cat picked it up with its 2 front paws and tasted it like a human. Not bad. It raised its head and drank it in one gulp. Everyone was speechless. Did this cat become a spirit? Its every action was like a human's. Also, this girl actually gave the tea that the crown prince poured for her to the cat. Wasn't this too disrespectful to the crown prince? Everyone's gazes secretly looked at Ji Yun Huang's expression. Ji Yun Huang did not bat an eyelid. He took another teacup and poured another cup for her. Come, drink this. Many thanks, Your Highness. Ning Xuema thanked him again. Xuema, must you be so polite to me? Ji Yun Huang's eyes darkened. I'm not being courteous. It's the proper etiquette I should have in front of Your Highness the Crown Prince. Ning Xuema smiled faintly. Ji Yun Huang seemed to be choked by her words and paused for a moment. You weren't like this before. Originally it was Xuema who was young and insensible. Please don't blame me, Your Highness. I would rather you treat me like how you did in the past. Ji Yun Huang's eyes darkened. Ning Xuema raised her hand and took a sip of tea. Her smile became more clear. The past is the past. Your Highness, no one can go back to the past. Was there really no way to return to the past? No, he couldn't accept it. Ji Yun Huang looked at her calm demeanor and sighed softly. Xuema, you've changed? Ning Xuema didn't care at all. Your Highness, no one stays the same. Are you still blaming me? Ji Yun Huang frowned bitterly. Your Highness worries too much. How could Xuema blame Your Highness? Your Highness, protecting your own sister is a matter of course. After all, I'm just an orphan of the Marquis Mansion, an outsider. Ning Xuema's tone was indifferent. Xuema, I know it was Yunyao's fault that day. I wronged you. Your injuries, are they serious? These past 2 days I've been looking for you in the Heavenly Book Mountain. I was afraid that you might have met with an accident. Your Highness, don't worry. Xuema's injuries have already healed. Your Highness doesn't need to worry. The two of them exchanged a few more words. Ning Xuema remained indifferent, polite, and distant. Ji Yun Huang tried his best to pull the two of them closer, but to no avail. Chapter 310. The blue cat was eating to its heart's content. While the two of them were talking, it had already swallowed 2 plates of pastries and 3 cups of tea. The crown prince looked at Ning Xuema again and his eyes slightly moved. Xuema, you've changed. Ning Xuema raised her hand and rubbed her forehead. Your Highness, you just said this once. No, I'm talking about your figure and appearance. In just 2 days you've grown a lot. She was originally a beauty, but at that time, her beauty was that of a child's innocence and cuteness. Now she had the charm of a young girl. He had not seen her for 2 days, how could she change so much? Ji Yunhuang's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly reached out and grabbed her wrist, wanting to check the psychokinesis in her body. However, just as his fingers touched Shuema's soft and tender skin, she flipped her wrist and unexpectedly escaped from his palm like a slippery fish. "Hey, what are you doing?" The little blue cat jumped onto the table and roared at Ji Yunhuang. It had been unhappy with this man for a long time. A younger sister had injured its master for the sake of that unreasonable younger sister of his. Could it be that she still wanted to harm its master now? Ji Yunhuang was stunned. This human and beast were obviously on guard against him, which made him feel a little hurt. He bitterly smiled and stared at Ning Shuema. "Shuema, I just want to check your psychokinesis. I don't have any other intentions." Ning Shuema carried the angry blue cat off the table and raised her head with a smile. "Shuema is a psychokinesis trash. Didn't you already test it? Why does your highness need to test it again?" No wonder I found her familiar. So she's that psychokinesis trash, Ning Shuema. Someone at the table next to them blurted out. This person's voice was not soft and the tea house was quiet. Almost everyone in the tea house heard him. Almost everyone's eyes were burning as they looked at her, and scrupulously sizing her up from head to toe. The originally quiet hall began to be filled with buzzing noises. Those people were apprehensive of Ji Yunhuang's presence, so they all lowered their voices and discussed with the people at the same table. From time to time they would exchange looks of understanding. Kiran's ears were sharp and she heard all their voices. It was nothing more than, "So it really is her. Wasn't she captured by bandits? Why is she with the crown prince again? A piece of trash dares to put on airs in front of the crown prince? I really don't know what she's so arrogant about. By the way, I heard that before the ancestor left, he gave the emperor a message. Could it be related to this woman?" What did the ancestor say? How come I didn't know about it? Tell me quickly. Quick, tell me." The ancestor spoke in Zen language. That sentence is too profound, I can't remember it at the moment. I think he said something like a jinx or something. My father heard it with his own ears, so it can't be wrong. Bang! The teacup in Ji Yunhuang's hand suddenly fell to the ground. This clear and loud sound caused the entire hall to quiet down. The buzzing sounds of discussion finally stopped. Everyone's gaze landed on Ji Yunhuang. Ji Yunhuang's voice was indifferent. "Those who speak nonsense will be killed without mercy." His imposing manner was astonishing. Most of the people present were the children of the country's high officials and nobles. They were still very afraid of this crown prince. When his gaze swept past them, they all lowered their heads. Ji Yunhuang secretly took a deep breath, as if he had finally decided on something. He said in a deep voice, "This Miss Ning is the daughter of Marquis Jing Yuan. She is intelligent and sensible. This prince admires her very much. In the future, I will marry her as..." Chapter 311. Before he could say the words crown princess, a cold voice suddenly came from upstairs. "Who is making a ruckus downstairs?" The voice was like ice and snow, flowing past everyone's ears. It was the end of summer and the weather was still a little hot. In this era there was no air conditioning, so even the best tea house's indoor temperature was still very high. But when this voice came out, everyone felt as if they had suddenly drunk a cup of iced tea. Their bodies felt cold and their spirits were lifted. Ning Shuema's heart also jumped. Hearing the voice, she raised her head and saw a person appear at the staircase. When this person appeared, everyone's eyes lit up. It was as if the entire tea house's taste had been raised by several levels in an instant. It was a young man who looked to be about 20 years old. He was wearing a loose moonlight robe. The robe was like a painting with a mountain rock and a cluster of bamboos. As he moved, the shadow of the bamboos was reflected on the mountain rock, as if it was dancing under the moonlight. It made people feel as if they were in a forest and they could feel the sounds of nature. This person stood on the stairs and the light behind him made his face blurry. His appearance could not be seen clearly, but he vaguely felt that he was very handsome, very elegant, and very extraordinary. In the darkness of the candlelight behind him, he was like a top zither player playing the high mountains and flowing water, making people forget everything. Almost everyone in the hall held their breaths. Han Shanhua. Needless to say, this person was the legendary Han Shanhua. He was indeed like the cold moonlight on the cold mountain, making people feel as if their hearts were cleansed by the moonlight. Han Shanhua's gaze slowly swept across the hall, pausing on the little blue cat. His eyes moved again and finally fell on Ning Xuema's face. He stood in a place with his back to the light, so Ning Xuema could not see his face clearly, but she could clearly feel his gaze. She subconsciously met his gaze. That gaze seemed to have a penetrating power, making her heart jump again. She felt a sense of familiarity. It was a bit like when the ancestor looked at her through the palanquin. There was also an inexplicable sense of familiarity, making her heart suddenly tremble. You. Han Shanyue's gaze fell on Ning Xuema. Come up. Why did he call her? Other than the blue cat beside her, which was rather eye-catching, there was nothing special about her. Why did this arrogant Han Shanyue suddenly ask her to go up? She wasn't close to him. A bunch of bright gazes turned to Ning Xuema. Their gazes were filled with all kinds of emotions. Some were surprised, some were puzzled, and some were gloating. Of course, those young girls looked at her with eyes full of jealousy. He was obviously a well-known piece of trash, so why did so many experts treat him favorably? The ancestor had once sent a servant to serve as a judge for her, and the crown prince had saved her many times. Lu Hinti had even wanted to make her his concubine. Now, this mysterious and otherworldly person Han Shanyue had personally asked her to go up. Had all these big shots been bewitched by this little girl? Why? Ning Xuema naturally felt the malice coming from all directions. Especially that jealous gaze, she couldn't be more familiar with it. Whether it was in her previous life or this life, she was often baptized by such gazes. She had long been numb. Sir, the one who made some noise and disturbed your painting was me. If you have any dissatisfaction, I apologize to you. This girl is innocent. Chapter 312. Mr. The one who made some noise and disturbed Mr.'s painting was me. If Mr. is dissatisfied, I will apologize to Mr. This young lady is innocent. Ji Yunhuang extended his hand and pulled Ning Xuema behind him without batting an eyelid. Then, he stepped forward bravely and lightly shouldered the responsibility. Ning Xuema's heart skipped a beat. She looked at Ji Yunhuang's back with a complicated gaze. As long as this crown prince did not implicate his sister, he treated her quite well. This matter happened because of me. Your Highness, you don't have to take responsibility for me. Ning Xuema came out from behind Ji Yunhuang. She was not worried about the debts that she had accumulated. Anyway, there were many people who wanted to make things difficult for her. She did not need this strange person in front of her. Moreover, Ning Xuema had an intuition that this strange person would not make things difficult for her. No, this matter has nothing to do with Xuema. I was the one who made a ruckus. I was also the one who threw the cup. Ji Yunhuang pulled Ning Xuema again, wanting to pull her back. Han Shanyue stood on the stairs and looked at the two of them who were trying to make excuses for each other. His dark eyes narrowed slightly, looking somewhat unfathomable. The two of you can come up together, he said faintly and turned around to go up the stairs. Ning Xuema and Ji Yunhuang looked at each other. Ning Xuema did not care. She would go up. It was just a ruckus. What could this strange person do to her? She lifted her leg and was about to go up the stairs when Ji Yunhuang pulled her back. I will be in front. A black shadow flashed by the door. Two people who were dressed as imperial bodyguards entered and blocked Ji Yunhuang's path. Their faces were solemn. Your Highness, don't take the risk. Ning Xuema felt that the two guards were making a fuss over nothing. She was just going to meet a weirdo, the sage of painting. Did they have to make it seem like she was going into a tiger's den? Ji Yunhuang seemed to have read Ning Xuema's mind and quietly said to her, 3 years ago, there was a rather influential young master who quarreled with someone in front of Han Shanyue, which affected the painting sage's work. He was thrown down the stairs by the painting sage with a wave of his sleeve. He fell until he was half dead and laid in bed for more than a year before he recovered a bit of his vitality. However, his martial arts were completely crippled. So brutal? Ning Xuema couldn't help but glance upstairs. It was really hard to equate that person with a violent person. Mistress, don't be afraid. I'm here. Kirin licked her finger, indicating that she would stick by her side. Xuema, no matter what, I won't let you get hurt again. Ji Yunhuang held her other hand. He casually pushed aside the two imperial bodyguards who were blocking the way. Both of you step back. His aura was very strong. The two imperial bodyguards didn't dare to stop him and could only step aside. Your Highness, please allow us to follow you. No need. Ji Yunhuang waved his hand. Both of you can wait here. Han Shanyue didn't like to have too many people. Moreover, he didn't allow anyone to go against his words. He said that he would let 2 people in, so he wouldn't allow him to bring any more subordinates. Moreover, Ji Yunhuang was also a proud person. His martial arts were considered top-notch in this continent. If he really wanted to fight, he didn't believe that he wouldn't be able to last 3 moves in front of the Sage of Painting. As long as he could last 3 moves, the elite bodyguards he had arranged outside would rush in. Therefore, he didn't need to let his bodyguards take the lead to boost his courage. The 2 imperial bodyguards were also very smart. They immediately understood Ji Yunhuang's intention. They bowed and stepped back, no longer obstructing him. Chapter 313. The 2 guards were also very smart and immediately understood Ji Yunhuang's intention. They bowed and retreated, no longer stopping them. Ji Yunhuang kept holding Ning Xuema's hand. Ning Xuema actually did not want to be so close to him, but Ji Yunhuang's fingers held her hand tightly, and she could not break free. She could not use too much strength or directly attack him, so she could only let him hold her hand. Forget it, it's just holding hands, it's not worth anything. In her previous life, she still had arms around her brother's shoulders. The 2 of them went up to the 2nd floor together. Finally, they saw the layout of the 2nd floor. The main hall was a little spacious, but the most eye-catching thing was a round rosewood table. On the table there was a large piece of drawing paper, paint, brushes, inkstone, everything was there. There were 2 very clean and agile children who were grinding the ink, arranging the paint, and doing some other work. There were no ordinary candles in the main hall, only a large luminous pearl hanging above the drawing table. The luminous pearl was like a small moon, bright but not dazzling, illuminating the whole drawing table. The scene was like a stage, but the spotlight only shone on one side of the stage and the other places were still dim. Master Han Shangyue stood in the shadow in front of the table, and the luminous pearl shone brightly behind him, but his whole person was like a silhouette. Ning Xuema stood at the staircase, but she still could not see his face clearly. It seemed that this art saint did not want people to see his face clearly, so he was very good at using the light effect. Although he did not wear a mask, it was not much different from wearing one. "Sir, why did you call us up?" Ning Xuema wanted to cup her hands, but when she raised them slightly, she realized that her hand was still in Ji Yunhuang's hand. Han Shangyue looked at them and his gaze paused on their hands. Kirin was lying in Ning Xuema's arms, and it was also staring at Han Shangyue. It suddenly felt that the temperature of the surrounding air seemed to have dropped a little. Then its eyes suddenly widened. All the hair on its body stood on end. 9 Supremes. Ning Xuema could clearly feel that something was wrong with Kirin in her arms. She could communicate with Kirin telepathically, so she immediately asked, "Little Apple, what's wrong?" Kirin looked at Han Shangyue again and paused for a moment before replying, "No, nothing. Yes, it's a little cold." The fur on his body slowly became docile. His heart was beating wildly. It had indeed recognized him, but that person had transmitted his voice to it in time to prevent it from revealing anything. Right now, Kirin was most afraid of him. Even though he felt that he would be letting his master down if he didn't reveal this person's identity, he still held himself back and obediently lay down on the ground. He wouldn't harm master, right? That shouldn't be the case. He actually treated its owner quite well. There must be a reason why he didn't want it to say anything now. It was better for it to make a fortune quietly. Ning Xuema couldn't care less about Kirin's subtle mood changes. Besides, the temperature upstairs was indeed much lower than downstairs. The 2 servants who were waiting on them had already put on their jackets. If it wasn't for Ning Xuema's profound cultivation, she would have shivered a few times from the cold when she entered. Han Shangyue pointed at Ji Yunhuang with his sleeve and said, "You stand there." He then pointed at Ning Xuema and said, "Come and grind the ink for me." He made such a big fuss to call her up just to grind the ink. Chapter 314. Ning Xuema was a little embarrassed. For such a small request, she naturally wouldn't go against the other party. She took the opportunity to break free from Ji Yunhuang's hand and walked over. Ji Yunhuang was stunned. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but as if he was worried about something, he finally shut his mouth. He only reminded Ning Xuema behind her back, "Xuema, be careful." Ning Xuema did not even turn her head. She only made a peace sign with her hands behind her back to show that she understood. She finally saw the painting that Han Shangyue had just drawn. Her heart suddenly skipped a beat. It was a half-finished painting of mountains and rivers. Mountains of different heights were covered by clouds and fog. In the middle of the mountains there was a waterfall. Beside the waterfall were jagged rocks. This was actually similar to the scenery she had seen on the 9th peak of Tianshu Mountain after the illusion had disappeared. Ning Xuemo raised her eyes to look at Master Han Shangyue. From her position, the master's face was still a little blurry. Even at such a close distance, she still could not see his face clearly. A thought suddenly floated into Ning Xuemo's mind. Could this Master Han Shangyue be the Nine Supremes' illusion? She was shocked by her own thought and could not help but look at him a few more times. Han Shangyue did not look at her and only ordered, "Grind." His palm landed on the half-drawn drawing paper, and the drawing paper suddenly emitted a faint white smoke, and the whole drawing paper instantly disappeared without a trace. Ning Xuemo asked, "Why did you destroy this painting?" She felt a little heartache. That painting had both form and spirit. When she first saw it, she wanted to take a second look. After the second look, she actually had the illusion that she was there. Although Ning Xuemo did not know much about painting, it should be a successful piece of work to be able to easily bring people into the mood of the painting. What a pity it was to destroy it. She could still sell it for a lot of money if it was given to her. "It's dirty?" Han Shangyue answered succinctly. The art boy beside him also had a pained expression on his face. They were prodigies in the field of painting, and could be considered as genius artists. This time they were invited by the tea house to assist Master Han Shangyue. Naturally they were very willing to come. Just now when they saw Han Shanyue's painting, they saw how his brush moved like dragons and snakes. The mountains and rivers seemed to come alive under his brush, and they were mesmerized. Although it was only half a painting in their eyes, it was already a peerless treasure. They didn't expect this master to destroy it just like that. They couldn't even see where the stain was. No matter how he thought about it, the two of them must have startled the great master with their sudden clamor. That was why this peerless masterpiece was destroyed in a single day. The two boys glared at Ning Xuemo with resentment. Ning Xuemo just pretended not to see it. Instead she smiled and said, "It's just a small flaw. Why are you so demanding?" At this moment, the two children had already unfolded a new piece of paper and smoothed it out. Ning Xuemo was also a nimble person. She grinded the ink in a few seconds. She didn't know why, but the ink seemed to bite her hand. Just as she finished grinding the ink, her fingertips inexplicably cut a small hole. She couldn't retract her hand in time, and a drop of blood dripped into the ink. "Let me grind it again?" Ning Xuemo knew that the art saint in front of her was a perfectionist. She resigned herself to her fate and wanted to throw away the ink that was stained with her blood. "It's okay." Han Shangyue raised his hand and pressed it on the ink slab. Ning Xuemo couldn't retract her hand in time, and his hand was pressed on the back of hers. His hand was as cold as ice. Ning Xuemo shivered from the cold. She frowned and was about to withdraw her hand. Chapter 315. His palm was as cold as ice, causing Ning Xuemo to shiver from the cold. She frowned and was about to withdraw her hand, but the other party had already withdrawn his hand. He even used a white handkerchief to wipe his hand. Ning Xuemo was speechless. She remained calm and collected as she unhurriedly took out a silk handkerchief from her bosom and wiped the back of her hand where he touched it. Han Shangyue looked at her and did not say anything. He started to paint. His tone was calm as he answered Ning Xuemo's question. "Since you can get the best, why would you want the flawed one?" "I can't tolerate any flaws." He was obviously a perfectionist. Ning Xuemo looked at his spotless outer robe and then looked at his hand that was holding the brush while painting. His fingers were clean and slender with distinct joints. They were as white as jade. He moved the brush as he wished. Mountains, trees, lakes, gradually appeared under his brush. Ning Xuemo suddenly held her breath. She was familiar with this scene. It was the scene she saw in the illusion. The leaves that were like palms, and the vast lake that was sparkling with clear light. Ning Xuemo was in a trance. It was as if she had walked into the illusion of the 9th peak. The green leaf stage, the little ginseng baby sitting on the stage. The scenes flashed through her mind like a movie. The two painters standing by the side suddenly felt that something was wrong with Ning Xuemo. She stared at the drawing paper while Han Shanyue's brush was flying. The scenes under his brush danced as if they were flying. What was even more strange was that the scenes on the drawing were flashing and disappearing at the same time. Huh? Was there something wrong with the brush? The two art assistants widened their eyes and were about to open their mouths when Han Shanyue suddenly glanced at them. The two of them felt dizzy and couldn't think of anything else to ask. They just mechanically helped him out. Ning Xuemo's eyes were like a drunkard. She followed Han Shanyue's brush and the memories of the ninth peak in her mind began to disappear. Ji Yunhuang stood at the door and watched from afar. At first he was on guard, afraid that Han Shanyue would do something bad to Ning Xuema. Later, when he saw that Ning Xuema was only given the job of grinding the ink, he heaved a sigh of relief. He knew a lot about painting and was very curious about what this great master Han Shanyue had painted. He wanted to go forward and take a look, but he was afraid of offending this art saint. He stood there and watched Ning Xuema's movements. When he saw her standing beside Han Shanyue and staring at the drawing paper as if she was drunk, his heart itched. Finally, Han Shanyue stopped and threw the brush into the brush holder. It's done. Ning Xuema's body as if she woke up from a dream. Her legs seemed to have gone numb from standing and her body swayed violently. Be careful. Ji Yunhuang subconsciously wanted to rush over and support her. However, he didn't know what he stepped on. His toes hurt and his legs went numb. He almost fell down and hurriedly held onto the railing next to him. When he steadied himself and looked at Ning Xuema again, he saw that Han Shanyue had one arm around her and placed her on a chair next to him. Ji Yunhuang was speechless. Was he seeing things? The art saint Han Shanyue, who was usually difficult to approach, was actually helping a girl? However, seeing that he was helping her openly and Ning Xuema almost fell down, Ji Yunhuang didn't say anything. The numbness in his legs had disappeared. He walked over to Ning Xuema and looked at her face. Xuema, are you okay? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.